I knew exactly where that was going.
I think I already called you Julian like twice by
It's
accident.
because he calls himself Julian.
There's a reason for that, because I hate explaining to people that I'm never going to see again. Hence the Phil's people, Starbucks. Like, my local Starbucks knows it's Julian.
Is
now.
it, just let's be honest, is it white people's way of trying to keep you down?
No, he keeps himself down. I will come up behind him and like correct people. It doesn't bother him; it bothers me when they call him Julian.
I'm okay with it until, like, if
What's your ethnicity?
Mexican. Well, actually, according to what did I take? This DNA test?
23andMe?
It was like that one, but a different one. But
You're African American.
I am
5%.
There's a little African for sure,
Yeah.
but I guess I'm Spaniard.
He's like
Like
Portugal, like Portuguese.
I'm just
And-
whatever's convenient.
Exactly.
whatever's convenient at the
Whatever I
time.
need to be at the time, except it
I'll
only
morph into
works because I'm brown, so I can only pull that off.
St.
So
Patrick's Day, I'm Irish as fuck. You know? Situations like that.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm Spaniard and 30% Mexican. I called my dad, and I was like, "What's going on here?"
He's upset.
Yeah, what really happened?
So yeah, that's about it.
How'd you guys meet?
We met at the gym. I was visiting, so he used to be at a gym at a
You were on the
CrossFit
cable
gym.
crossover. One thing led to another.
Kind of. No, he was at a gym in LA, and I was in town because I used to work for the CrossFit seminar staff, and I had some friends of his that owned the gym, and so yeah, I was in there training with them. And
You're like, who's this hot piece of ass?
Not at all, actually. I knew who he was because it was the year that he had qualified for the games.
Oh.
So he was like the random dude
She
that
still
beat
knew me as
Josh
Julian.
Bridges. No, I knew it was Julian.
Oh, nice,
Because of
good.
the shirts with the over-the-top
I
explanation
had
of how
to.
to say it.
I had to.
So he was like the random Mexican dude that beat Josh Bridges at regionals. That's about as much as I knew.
Yeah.
Was that like a qualifying thing to get him through the door?
Not at all. Actually, so the only reason that we are here today is because the 405 was shut down for several hours while I was at the gym, and anybody that lives in LA knows that if the 405 is shut down, like
Oh, you're screwed.
wherever you are, no one can go anywhere. And so
It was the 101.
whatever, it's all the same thing. This dude tried to jump off a bridge, kill himself, shut down the
damn.
whole entire freeway system.
It was bad.
And so I was stuck, and I asked him if there was somewhere good to go eat. He told me that there was a place nearby he could show me. But I thought
I didn't say it that creepy. I just said that I know a place nearby.
He,
Go ahead and get some food.
The fact that he was a games athlete was almost like a big hindrance to me thinking that he was cool at all, because I was expecting him to just, talk about his snatch PRs and his plans of being top 20 next year or something
Yeah,
like that.
guys talking about their snatch is not a great way to get in with the ladies.
But he was instead he was talking about how he liked to bake cupcakes, which I've yet to see to this day, and how he liked to go salsa dancing. So it was different than most of the dudes I was used to.
Can he salsa dance?
He absolutely can, actually.
great.
Flossing the other day, we found out not an option for
Here's
him.
the deal
but
about
salsa
this, okay? I
dancing.
did on
Flossing, the coordination on that's tough.
I did that on purpose. I actually can probably bust it out if I spend a little time on it, but I knew that we needed it for comedic purposes, and I did it for that.
You nailed it.
I did.
So you messed it up on purpose.
Absolutely.
It's kind of your story.
Absolutely.
What's your story on how you met? Because there's got to be different. There's different stories all the time.
I would say the same thing. Like, I remember when I walked into the gym, I was like, man, one, like her smile really captured me. Like, I was like, dang, like she's very pretty in person. and
Not
stuff. It wasn't even, and I'm hold
on
on,
the
take it. No,
internet.
don't exaggerate it. I was like, wow, like I walked in and she had like a really good energy about her. And so I was like, that was really cool. But I knew, I was like, in my head, I was like, all right, keep your distance. She's popular. Da 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 da. People probably hit on her all the time.
Play it cool, bro.
Play it cool. Focus on your snatch. No, but and then from there, like, she wanted to work on some other workout, and obviously we wanted to kill time. So I was like, yeah, I'll work out with you. I'll do this little section there, and then yeah, obviously that whole situation with the freeway happened. Took her to lunch. I did actually want to continue getting to talk to her and outside of the gym, and fast forward.
Bada bing, bada boom. You're married and you have a kid.
Boom. That's it. Yes.
How old's your kid?
He's 15 months old.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Did she bounce back super quick after having the kid and get back into fighting shape?
Super quick, but it doesn't feel quick when you're like dealing with their emotions. You know, like you're like in.
Like-
I like how he's speaking that you're not here. That's great.
You know, you have to.
Oh my god.
I like that move.
I mean, it's crazy. Like people don't understand. Like you know, there's a part of it for the guys that it's hard for women, but it's emotionally, but it's just as hard for male emotionally too. To
Drawing
deal.
some
Well, it
good
depends.
heat here
Hold on,
early in the podcast.
Hold on, but I will
Just
say this
as-
though. I will say
Crowd is
this.
booing thoroughly.
It
and
depends
loudly.
how invested in your relationship you are. You could be like, you know what, she'll deal with it on her own, or you can be caring and be like, all right, what do you need? What do you need? And you have to kind of just know that they went through hell for 9 months and then post still. So you just got to suck it up.
You're like, you already gained 20 pounds. You don't need another bag of potato chips.
I remember there
That's
was
what you
one-
want to say, right?
There was one time where I was like, she's like, I'm going to gain 30 pounds. And I had not processed how
Oh
much
my
weight
gosh, this was
women
really-
gain. You know, I was, oh, they just grow a belly.
like,
I didn't really think about the
Why?
weight gain.
The baby's only 8 pounds. Why would you gain 30 pounds? He literally didn't know. We had to like call people so I could confirm to him, like, no, that's actually normal.
We didn't have to call people. I believed you when you told me. And then she decided to take it further than that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That ends up being quite a bit of weight,
Yeah.
especially on a small frame.
Yeah.
So
but she
I-
bounced back quick, though.
I think his problem with the emotions is they were already there, but we moved in together, started a business, and I found out that I was pregnant all in like a 2-week period.
And my mom also moved in with us.
And his mom, yeah, so his mom was also living with us.
You could have planned that better. I mean, getting
It
pregnant
was,
doesn't just happen out of nowhere.
I know. I know.
It was stressful.
Yeah.
You just hadn't seen it yet because you weren't around it 24/7. This is just me.
Yeah.
Oh, she's always that way.
I know.
So that's what he was in for, a rude awakening.
Yes.
A common question I always ask her, I was like, how were you married for this long?
Yeah, because I was married before for 9 years.
Yeah.
But we were never together.
You guys are going to try to get a PR.
For
We're
me,
going-
actually, I think my longest relationship before her was like a year, 9 months, a year.
11. You told me it was 11
11 months, yeah.
of not breaking up with this person.
Or a
And-
person in general, yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, there you go.
So we're already crushing it.
I heard it PR'd, so yeah,
Yeah, you're already on your way.
yes.
What was the most difficult part about going through the pregnancy? Like, obviously the weight gain is a huge thing. It's an emotional thing. Like having your body change like that, and then are you kind of like concerned? Like at a certain point, are you like, I know I can work out like after I give birth, and you can work out leading up to it and stuff like that. But are you like kind of halfway nervous about, am I ever going to get my body back?
Oh my gosh. So I would say the hardest section is the section. I think that a lot of times for your first pregnancy anyway, you have this date of when the baby's going to come out as the end. That's the end date. Like my due date, Knox's due date was July 28th, and that's the end date. But actually, like for the few months afterwards, you're way more messed up than you were when you were actually pregnant. At least that's how I felt. And you kind of think like, oh yeah, the next day I'm on my way back to being who I was before. But then
It's almost like you just took a big shit.
exactly.
It's like, that's
And
out of
now
me.
I
Now I
and
feel
now I
good.
feel fine.
Back to normal.
Yeah, so I don't think that I was prepared for that. I think you think, oh, the pregnancy's hard and being pregnant is hard and the birth is hard, but nobody really talks about the after. And that was the biggest, like, most shocking thing to me was how messed up your body is afterwards, like for months. So
What about from a mental standpoint? Like, was the motivation different? Like, did you feel like a different person in a way? Like, just because
Oh, yeah.
you went through so many hormonal changes happen. So I'd imagine that's got to be play into it big time.
yeah, I mean, it changed your motivation for everything. Even in the working out, like you've got to think everything that you do from the moment you find out you're pregnant, you've got to think, how is this going to affect the fetus inside of me, basically. So it's not just, oh, what do I want to do today? What am I going to eat? Whatever. That's all just for you. It's from that moment. And now I feel like for the rest of your life, almost, it's everything. You got to think about the little guy.
Yeah, it's nothing is about you anymore.
Nope.
And especially as a mom. As a mom, you really get killed. And I try to explain this, and it's hard for me to put into words. Like when you have a child and you're a dad, at least this is my experience, you're not like automatically attached to that kid the second it's born. It's a different feeling from a male
For
perspective.
sure, absolutely.
You are totally aware of like, yeah, I'm going to do any and everything I can to like help this little person in the world, but I don't think it's the same. I think the attachment that the woman has is different, And I see what my wife goes through every day, and I'm just like, man, she gets crushed. She gets fucking she just gets crushed by our kids and by me. Like, I'm the biggest baby of them all. So, we really tend to slow her down, and she ends up having to do like just a shitload of tasks every single day. I don't know how it is for you, but for me, I can do like 2 or 3 things in a day, and then I'm kind of fried,
I feel like I'm doing 2 or 3 things like right now.
Yeah, anything more than that, I get worn out pretty good. So, how is it for you guys? Are you able to handle a lot in one day?
I definitely have a limit. I think I'm a better multitasker. I mean, that's like kind of a female thing, is to be better at multitasking for sure. But running the business and having him, and then also just like trying to be my own person. As a mom, the own person thing really gets pushed to the side a lot. And we were talking about motivation. Like, it's weird, like, to be super into fitness or trying to get your body back, because you want to get your body back for yourself, but also to like set a good example for other moms or even for your kid. But then at a certain point, you're like, man, but am I really going to do like a couple more sets of whatever? Like, I should go be with my kid. So no matter what you do, you feel like you're losing somewhere. It's really weird.
You feel guilty?
Yes.
I think one of the things that I've noticed for sure is, you think you got things figured out, but we don't, and we're still, every week you keep learning from mistakes that keep happening, right? And you have to adjust on the fly pretty much. You can either sit down, and that's we do often actually. We sit down and talk about the issue that happened and what can we do to avoid this next time, right? Because I would say the whole first year, I mean, as parents, what I hear is you're always figuring things out, and you won't, right? But you got a lot of figuring out to do the first year. You have to, you kind of have to, for me, realizing that, and that the schedule really revolves around the little guy, because you think you can make it work. No, I can pull it off, because that was my personality before, and no way. I've had to really just kind of reel it in and make a lot of adjustments, but a lot of communication is key.
Did Miranda sidetrack your dreams of winning the CrossFit Games?
I never wanted to win the CrossFit Games, actually, to be honest. I actually just wanted to make it there. And I think that's, I'm glad I did. And I was able to check out a lot sooner than I think other individuals. Because the thing is, when I made it in 15 and I realized how miserable it actually was, and I was like, okay, well, you get all inspired the first week after it's over. You're like, I'm going to come back. And then 1 month later, you're like, I mean, I'll go back, I guess, sure, why not? I got no other goals in life.
Was it like too time consuming and it just took too much away?
I'm being very honest. I think the other thing that I was trying to pursue was acting, which is, I had my run at it. And I think it was like how I identified myself, because I moved to LA to pursue acting, and I booked roles. I did, and good ones, right? I don't really talk about it much because there weren't like, there were never leads in anything, so I wasn't really too proud of it.
Was that something that you studied and like went to classes for?
It was something that I
just
jumped into it. Again, I didn't have many goals in life, and my parents and my mom and my brother were like, oh, you should go do acting and stuff. I was like, oh, all right, sure. And I did it. And so when I found CrossFit, though, it was like a big distraction, actually, and
CrossFit seems like a big act to me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's all green screened anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So once that took up a lot of time, and I realized I was good at it, I wanted to do something with it. And then, that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you got into CrossFit, like, did you just kind of realize, like, after you made it to the games, competition level is rising and things like that, and you started to develop other goals in your life as well?
Yeah. So obviously, I think if it wasn't for Miranda, I think I would have still probably been in it, to be honest.
Because I think the story of, I think people always think this is a negative, but the story of like, I'm not good enough is actually a good thing to go through. Like I tried that. I worked really hard at it. And even if I doubled down, I still wouldn't be able to figure out how to beat Rich Froning or Matt
Right,
Frazier, right?
Right.
And so it's like, and even if you did double down, you're like, that's going to cost me a lot. Not
for sure.
financially, just going to cost you a lot, period. A lot of time,
Yeah.
a lot of effort, a lot of injury, a lot of heartache.
Right.
It's going to just cost you a lot. And so I think sometimes people try things and they fail, and then they kind of give up on a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, bounce around into something new, into something different.
Right. I think that obviously in 2015 when I made it and I achieved my goal, because that year actually my goal was to just take top 10 at regionals at the time, but because it was my first year as an individual, and then that happened and I was like really shocked. So I went in, I was super rookie about it. I didn't do good at the games. So once again, it like just opened my eyes to realizing what you don't really gain too much out of it once you're there from a financial point of view, when you're putting a lot of your financial on almost at a pause, right? Your coaching classes, great. You're paying your rent. But that's about it. And so, 16 happened, I try to, go for it again. I didn't make it. It was a reality check. Again, you're like, all right, you're getting to a point now. What's your next steps? 17, and then I met Miranda, 15, we dated in 16. In 17, I didn't even want to do the Open actually, because I felt, I really went hard at my meal prep company that I owned at the time. And once I focused on that, it actually, I built it up. It was, doing really, really well. I didn't want to sign up for the Open. She convinced me. She's like, I think you should. I did it, made it. Best open, performance I did in the Open. And then she's like, I think you're going to qualify for the games. I was like, I don't think so. I'm not training nowhere near what I used to. And then I qualified and then didn't go.
Qualified and didn't go.
I didn't
Why didn't you go?
Because Knox was born on the 1st.
His due date was July 28th, and the games were set to start on August 1st.
So she did derail your hopes and dreams. I knew it.
I saved him from having to compete in the games
true.
Second time.
Yeah, actually, and I'm glad that I experienced it for my first year, 2015, so I knew what it was like being there. So everything kind of happened the way it needed to. I competed. I proved to myself as an athlete that I belonged out there on the floor. It wasn't a question whether it was a fluke year, right? Because people make it one year and they always question, like, was I lucky this year? Were the workouts in my favor?
Did you guys go through this realization that you don't want to maybe be so heavy into CrossFit almost around the same time, or did your development happen a lot earlier, Miranda?
Well, so my last CrossFit competition was when I was on Team NorCal in 2015, and we were winning the games. And on Saturday morning, I tore my ACL, just like exploded my ACL on a clean and jerk, and was
just on a workout
at the games.
Oh, at the games.
In the middle of the games, we were winning the CrossFit games by like 60 points, and exploded my ACL. Was told by the doctors, like, you're not allowed. We're not going to let you continue to compete. And so the team tried to do what they could do with only 5 people. And then even at a certain point, I think we placed like 10th, even when they did more than half the workouts with only 5 people. So I never really tried to go back to being competitive after that. I was, 33 already. And I had given up a lot. I had stopped working as much. So my career was like all messed up and everything, just because I knew we were going to win the games. Like I knew it was going to happen, and we definitely would have. And it was kind of like a sign, I think, for all of us on that team to be just like, okay, let's all do something else. And so I got a new job. I started working for a supplement company, and I moved, and that's where I met him, and everything happened the way that it happened. So I never really tried to go back to competing after that.
Going through some of that process, did you get like depressed at all? Did you get upset by it, or was it such a long time coming that it wasn't painful necessarily?
I actually feel really lucky, and I've talked to a bunch of games athletes about this who they don't want to do it anymore, but they didn't get injured or anything, so they just have to say, oh, I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
I felt lucky that I got injured and could use that as I tore my ACL, and then so I tore my ACL, and then we met, and by the time my knee started feeling better, I was pregnant. So it's like, I tore my ACL and I was pregnant, and now I'm old and I'm a mom and whatever, So I feel like I had an easier out than a lot of people who made a choice not to compete anymore. I had a lot of excuses. I
That's
could
another
use.
thing actually that helped me too, and I don't really think I bring it up often, but having Miranda know a lot of the OG games athletes kind of helped me make a decision with like even after let's just say
You realize what a bunch of losers they are.
you said it, I didn't. But you just kind of see where they're at. One, like they have a hard time letting go. Their bodies are broken. They hearing their stories about how they can't even like work out for fun anymore because they have to do this hour-long warm-up to even attempt to go running or even spend time with their kids.
Right.
And I was just like, this is what happens when you don't let go.
Yeah.
You don't know how to let go. When you achieve your peak high, and then I think it's because they feel like so many people expect something of them. When you get to a point where you can just realize like why or what your purpose is now, and I feel like thank goodness I had a purpose, which made everything so much easier.
Yeah, we're so lucky because, I mean, when I left the sport, we were winning by a lot and slated to win, and I just got injured. So that's like the sad story in sports, but it's not like we win and lost or something like that. When he left, it was like the biggest dick move in all of CrossFit history because who remembers who won regionals in 2017? The only thing that people remember from those regionals is that Julian was like, "Oh, I made it. No, thank you. Like, I'm good." It was a really big deal. Like,
Because they only pick like the top 2 people or something, right?
it's the top 5, and he was 4th, and so they gave it to like the guy underneath him, or who would have been 6th, I guess. But like women were like tagging their husbands and their boyfriends in like all the posts about it, like, see. He gave up his spot to go to the games to be at the birth. Like, why can't you be like this? And the guys were like, "Oh my gosh, you've ruined my life forever. Like, how are men supposed to live up to this?" And,
Right.
and he had people coming up to him like, "Why would you do that? Just miss it. Like, it's not that big of a deal."
That's what people tell me,
And
like,
all
well,
this
why don't you
stuff.
guys have the birth over there? And I
Yeah,
was
just
like,
have her fly out to Madison and deliver the baby there. And I'm like,
oh my gosh. I was like,
gosh.
get me out of this place.
Yeah. So
Like, you'll have another baby. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
yeah. He'll
Like,
be there when you get back.
Yeah. He's there forever.
So
Yeah, that's I mean, I've was forced to come to the realization that I couldn't do it anymore, as well. So I fell with a 1,085 squat, and I just was like, maybe I should rethink some of the stuff that I'm doing. So I lost weight and shifted gears for a while, and still got bit by the bug again, and came back and forth and back and forth, and Brett Favre'd it for a little while. But I think I got most of it out of my blood at this point.
Nice.
When you bring up some of the original CrossFitters, I'm not aware of all the names like you guys are, but I am aware of a lot of the athletes. And one person that comes to mind is Jason Kalipa. Like, he's somebody that went through that process, smashed himself as hard as he possibly could, but he took that mindset and now he's applying it to other aspects of his life. He and his family, along with many other people, have supported Ava through her leukemia, and looks like she's coming out the other end.
yeah, it's so good.
Very healthy and strong, and he's applying himself in these different areas. And sometimes you're looking at some of these other people that have done really cool things in CrossFit or powerlifting, and you're like, man, I just wish they would kind of like wake the hell up and apply that energy. Like, they're so good, they're so cool, they're so awesome, and I just love to see them connect the dots in their regular life. Sometimes.
It just takes an experience or something to give them new purpose. That's
Well,
it.
and I've said it so many times because these athletes, they'll have a voice for a short period of time. So whether they just made it to the games for the first time, or they've been an OG for a long time, and they have like this following and this voice, and people want to hear what they have to say, they don't use it for anything, and then it dwindles off, and then by the time they realize they've lost their voice, they don't know what they're going to do, and so they end up, owning a gym or being a trainer, which is not a bad deal for sure, but they had an opportunity to, make a change in the world with whatever they wanted to say, and they kind of lose it, and they miss that opportunity because they're so focused on their training and the selfishness of trying to go to the games that they lose that opportunity. It's pretty sad.
When I was doing seminars for CrossFit, I remember, so many people saying like there's all this money in CrossFit, and in some sense there is, and in some sense
For Glassman,
in some sense there's not, right? And I just remember people saying that, and I would go out and do these seminars, and I would meet the owners, and they drove like very modest cars, and like I didn't recognize, there was no signs of that that people had like this crazy excess amount of money that people were talking about. They basically seemed very similar to the powerlifting crew that I was used to. And I think that perception probably comes in some of the prize money that there is at the games. Obviously, CrossFit is I think $300 or $400 million, maybe more. I don't even know, a year company. Like, it's huge, right? And it's they did sponsorship with Reebok, and they're now on ESPN, and like there's all these things that have happened. But that money is for some of the higher ups and for some of the missions that they have, and then they also have a huge staff of people that do seminars and media and all different kinds of stuff. It's really there's not like money having like a CrossFit gym necessarily, unless you can figure out how to navigate those waters. And there's not really a ton of money in being a CrossFit coach unless you can figure out how do I navigate those waters and how do I be a little different than the next person.
You could definitely make a lot more money in most cases as a personal trainer than you can owning a gym or being a group fitness instructor at a CrossFit gym.
Absolutely.
Depending on where you live and your clientele and stuff like that, for sure. And I don't think people see that. People like to see how much the CrossFit gyms charge, and then they multiply that number by the number of members they have. And like you said, like they don't subtract the rent and the utility bills and the insurance and the equipment and the trainer. They don't subtract any of that. They just see the big number.
Yeah, they're like, they charge 200 and they got 200 members.
Exactly.
They must just be printing money.
Exactly.
And you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. They got 5 coaches and they got a lot of overhead, and there's a lot of other expenses. Have either of you guys owned a CrossFit gym before?
I owned a gym in Salt Lake City, Utah for 3 years. Yeah, it was before anybody knew what CrossFit was. So it was super fun because we didn't have the people showing up like telling us they were the next games champion or anything like that. So it was cool that we only had a few stall mats and our dumbbells didn't match, and nobody, was using full range of motion or anything. We were just having a good time.
And then both of you have been very successful in CrossFit. Did you make any money actually CrossFitting, physically CrossFitting?
Absolutely not.
We had sponsors and stuff, because I was on Jason's team, so he's a great negotiator to get us some money.
I would get paid like $200 from certain like apparel companies a month or whatever, but it was nothing.
Living in LA, what pays your like?
Before I realized that this is a 1099 employee, you still have to pay taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's here's the deal, right? Do what you got to do to, obviously, because what's hard about everything, like we can say all this stuff now, right? But what I realized that when somebody has a mission or a goal, they won't realize what we're realizing until they achieve it. There's always a drive, and hopefully and we can tell them all we want, a lot of people, but I think, until they experience it themselves, we just hope that they experience it a lot sooner, or hopefully by listening what we've been through, they can shift focus into things that, has a good, better payoff, especially, with the situation that they could possibly, if someone has a family and stuff like that, that's what makes me really sad sometimes. But, because the thing is, like, everything that we've done has been a story to create everything that we have now, so I also don't regret any decision that I've made since, I moved to LA and all the mistakes and all the bad experiences, because it molds you into who you are now. It's just a matter of realizing when that change needs to happen.
Miranda, do you feel better nowadays, like not chasing numbers? Not
like physically, psychologically, emotionally. What do you mean?
All.
I would say
it's a huge burden to that's your identity. You're a CrossFitter and you have these certain numbers and times and things that you have to have.
Yeah, I would say I have a lot more fun working out, and it's a lot less stressful now. Oh, look at that. We got hat backwards. It was before I was a mom, It was so much cooler back then.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The hair was short, though. You were going with the mom haircut.
I look like I'm about to cry.
Most of the videos I've seen of you, you always look like you're about to cry.
I have very expressive eyes, and also one thing that I learned competing is I'm really bad at it. I'm good at working out in the gym, but as soon as there's stakes involved, it never goes well for me. So that was something that I learned.
Yeah, most of these videos I see you and hear you making weird noises and making weird faces.
Like throwing up and stuff.
Yeah, so barfing everywhere.
I would say I definitely have a lot more fun, but it can be tough sometimes. We don't do a lot of the same workouts like we used to do in the past. Like, but when we repeat, like this, for example, was Jackie. When we repeat that, I'll still get competitive with my old times and get a little bummed out if I can't beat what I was doing before. And the crazy thing is, though, when it comes to just like classic conditioning type stuff, I'm not that far off. Lifting, not even close. Like my Olympic lifts and stuff, because we don't lift very much at all now. But I mean, I can do pretty well for one workout a day. The volume, if I tried to go do like a regionals of like 3-4 events in a day, would annihilate me.
Do you think, like a lot of CrossFitters work out multiple times a day? Do you think do you think they're doing too much because they just feel that they have to, or do you think that's necessary?
I think if you're going to compete, it's necessary because it's sport specific at that point. Like your body needs to know how to recover and do it again and do it again. To look good and to just be generally fit and be able to have a fast Fran time or Jackie time, it's completely unnecessary.
Right. Right. It's definitely overkill, right?
Yes.
So you made the games in 2008. Was that the first time you made it?
So you didn't really have to make it back then, Mark. You just kind of showed up and like signed a waiver.
Well, you made it.
The year that Jason won, same year. You didn't really have to, it was, it was a free-for-all back then. It's funny because that's actually where I met Jason. And we became friends shortly after that. But and then I competed. This was in regionals, what we're watching right now. This was in regionals in 2013. So 2011, I was 5th at regionals. 2013 and 14, I was 7th. Or no, 12 and 13, I was 7th. So I never made it as an individual to the games, which fans of CrossFit don't know, because if you have a cool Instagram and CrossFit posted you a bunch of times, they just assume you won the CrossFit games at some point. I never even had to do that. And then 14 and 15, I was on the team. 5th in 14, and then in 15, in my mind, we won because we should have won. It was my fault. But we got 10th.
When did you break your neck?
In 2012, in June. It was like a couple weeks after regionals in 2012.
But you still made it back to the games a few times after that.
Yeah, so I was in a car accident a few weeks after regionals and broke my neck. Didn't know it for 17 days. They told me I had whiplash, and they never even x-rayed me or anything, no matter how many times I complained about the pain in my neck. I was taken to the hospital.
An x-ray is such an easy thing for them to do.
Right?
It's not complicated.
And I was taken to the hospital on like a stretcher, like the
gurney type thing.
Yes, and I was telling
them
the whole
strapped
time,
down and everything.
Yep. So the EMTs definitely did their job, and then I was telling the doctors, like, my neck really hurts. Oh, you probably just have whiplash, and who knows? I mean, the emergency room people are probably they get a lot of dramatic people in there, I'm sure. I broke my hand, which they did x-ray my hand. Thank you.
Is that hard
Thank
to
you
see?
For that.
Like, we're bringing up the picture of the car, and is that tough for you to look at, or are you?
The car is that. So this picture actually was the day that I found out that my neck was broken. So this was like 17 days after the accident.
Okay.
I went in to get my hand casted, and the hand doctor was like, you're still like, you can barely move. And I'm like, oh yeah, the whiplash is still really lingering around. And he was like, I think you should go get an MRI on your neck. So my hand doctor sent me in, and they called me like immediately after and said, you need to go to an emergency room. If you sneeze, if you get rear-ended, if you trip and fall, like you could be paralyzed. And so
That's terrifying.
This was at an emergency room, and I was actually at the gym about to try to work out like a psychopath trying to go back to the games with a broken neck. Because that's your identity and it's what you do, right? So yeah, that was the day that I found out that I had to have surgery to have it fused and everything like that. Yeah.
How long did that take to recover from?
I was pretty stubborn about it, so I worked out pretty much the whole time, even in my collar. What I would do, you guys will appreciate this, is I pulled the sled around.
Right.
So I would just put it around my waist and walk around the parking lot in the sled to keep my legs strong. And it took a while before I could do things that were like overhead, obviously, anything that was explosive like cleans or snatches or kipping or muscle ups and all that kind of thing. But I mean, a year later, I placed the same as I did the 2 weeks before I broke it. So
what do you think the driving force behind that was? Like, why? Like, yeah, why not just chill the fuck out for a little while?
I think that my personality type is that I like to just be like, no, it's fine. I can do it. I'm fine. That's
Any
me.
idea where that comes from, or is that just you? Like, does that come from your mom or your dad, or
Definitely
like,
my dad.
yeah?
Very stubborn. Yeah. My mom's the most chill person. She'd still be chilling and be like, no, I got to recover this neck. You know?
Yeah, I gotta figure this out first before
Yeah.
before I move forward. What did your dad do?
Like, what does he do now?
Yeah, or what did
currently?
he do like when you growing up?
I mean, when I was growing up or when he was growing up?
When you were growing up?
Okay. My dad, he worked for a bunch of different companies. I don't remember exactly what he did when I was young, but I know that he was always gone and always busy, and he worked for a place that he hated.
Kids never have any idea what their dad does.
But I don't really, it's some sort of marketing, because I know that's what he did. He was marketing. I don't know what he was marketing, but I remember he worked for a company that he hated, and one day he came home and he told us that he had quit his job. I have 5 siblings, and we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I think less than a year or 2 later, we ended up moving to a much smaller house in a much more modest community. And my older siblings were really pissed about that, because we used to go to Hawaii and everything. And now as an adult, though, we understand, I guess, this company that he worked for, the marketing that he was doing required him to be super dishonest, and he couldn't do it.
Oh,
Couldn't do
okay.
it anymore. So that's a good lesson now as an adult. But as a kid, no more Hawaii in a smaller house was not ideal for us. We were upset about it.
I have a very similar story. My dad worked for IBM for a long time, and before I was born, when my family was just kind of getting started with my older brothers, we lived in a trailer park, and then my dad, made money and did well and worked for IBM, and we worked our way kind of up the ladder, and then became, I guess you'd say, like upper middle class. And then my dad lost his job with IBM, and we ended up back in the trailer park. So like my upbringing, like I saw a lot of that, and I saw like what the benefits of having financial freedom looks like, and I saw also, what it looks like to have it pulled out from underneath you. In some weird way, it made me like not care that much about money, and made me care more about being happy and like kind of following shit that just makes it feel good, rather than trying to figure out some sort of corporate job or try to figure out going to college or any of those things, because my dad did all that, and it paid off in a way, but when he had that job and when we were doing really well from a financial standpoint, it was hard for him to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw him pursue his own goals and his own dreams he loves real estate, he does taxes and stuff like that. He loves people. He loves to communicate with people, and so he found a job that allowed him to do that and make money at the same time. And I was like, that seems like a way better option. I don't care how much less money that is. That still seems better. And in the long run, he ended up making more money, because that's the way that shit works, because you're passionate and excited about it.
When he talks about the games athletes and no one making any money and no one having real jobs, it's actually a real thing for a lot of those athletes. I think because of my experience growing up when I was younger and seeing my family go through that, that was never me. I always had at least one job, if not 2, and I have since I can remember, since I was 15 years old. I've always worked, and when I was in college, I was the only one in my apartment of 6 girls who had a job, and then also was like taking way more classes than I should. And the whole time that I was competing in CrossFit, I owned my gym, and I was on the seminar staff, traveling every single weekend. Like, I was not okay with just, like, I'll get money from sponsors. And in my mind, it's like, no, what happens if you get hurt? I always had to have a backup plan. And still to this day, no matter how successful our business becomes or anything, I'm like, yeah, but it could go away tomorrow. And so I think it taught me in positive ways in a lot of ways, but also in like panic mode, negative ways. I think sometimes where I have a hard time relaxing with success, like it's not ever quite enough.
Right.
So
do you have like a lot of anxiety towards like always wanting to do better, or do you move around so much you ain't got time to think about it?
No, she's got a lot of anxiety.
No, I think I picked that up as a kid again from my dad of always wanting. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and
Right.
always overdoing it.
being idle's not in your not in your
No, I
vocabulary.
have a really hard time.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
actually gotten us in like certain arguments at the beginning for sure with his business because I have like a very relaxed approach to like problems and stuff. Um, and she is very, we both care, but you care different ways, right? And we have different ways of dealing with things. Um,
Both ways seem to solve problems, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Somebody who's really going to push,
Mhm.
and someone who's also going to say, I'm not really going to push on that because I want to kind of see what it all looks like.
Mhm.
And like, for example, I'm imagining that it's probably very easy for her to get fired up, right? And for her to get mad about something, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And like my household's the same way. My wife can get really pissed about something, and I'm usually more relaxed about it. And it plays out really well because we're opposites in that
Mhm.
way, and we're not like driving each other crazy. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes we can, but for the most part, you know, she's fighting somebody balling up their fist with balling up her own fist,
Mhm.
and I'm just keeping my hands relaxed, and I'm like, let's just see what they do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, let me assess the situation, and me getting mad does absolutely nothing other than just give me a bunch of stress.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that it's just again we've had to talk, really work together to figure out to get me to a point too where I'm like, all right, just let her go through her emotions and stuff, and then once things settle down later that evening, we can just we can talk about it and stuff. The funniest is when she's like she has such high anxiety and she's like talking to me about it, and I'm like trying to be the listener and not usually I'm very like I'll talk right away and stuff, but I've learned to
She
not.
looks like she's about to beat your ass.
No, no,
right
no.
now, by
I'm
the
like,
way.
where is he going with this?
No,
Is
it's
it
just
funny when I have anxiety? I'm glad you think it's so funny.
no, I've had to learn to just stay quiet and listen. But there's sometimes where she's like looks at me a little bit too long, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say something right now. I'm just letting you do you. And I'm glad we got to that point.
You're like, is she thinking about punching my teeth down my
I'm
throat right
just-
now?
there's times where I'm like, are you mad at me? Like, did I do something?
Have to constantly tell people, no, I
Yeah.
ran into a barbell. I promise.
Yeah.
Everything's good at home.
It's just so yeah, but it's interesting. Like, but you got to figure those things out early, and I think that's one thing that we're learning early how to communicate.
It's I think it's worked out really perfect for us because when I met him, he had a business, and the way that I saw them running their business gave me panic attacks,
was
and it
ghetto.
had
It was
nothing to
really-
do with me.
for
Like
sure.
like writing down orders in like a spiral notebook with food splashes all over it, and delivering meal because they had a meal prep company, and they'd go deliver stuff at like 11 o'clock at night to people's house. And I was like, this is all of it's so unprofessional.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
no record of how much money they were taking in or anything, and so it's been a good like happy medium for
Yeah,
sure.
no, she's made me definitely like change into a way more responsible person.
I think that's a thing that a lot of guys struggle with. Just being organized.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're like, I'll figure that out, and you kind of just maybe do it through some like brute force or whatever, and or just like work. You just like, I'll just work hard, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, then I'll just work harder. But having some sort of organization makes it so much more efficient,
Yeah.
and you can still work hard, but you can work hard in other areas and help things along a lot faster, way more efficiently if you have bring in some kind of law and order to everything.
Yeah.
Did you find that you became like more overprotective after you guys had a kid?
Absolutely. Well, before that, actually, when she got pregnant, I immediately was like, I got to get everything together, and I had to make that huge adjustment.
What's really funny is I think having Knox chilled me out more than it made me more of a perfectionist, I would say, because I mean, any mom will tell you being a perfectionist mom, it doesn't last very long because there's no such thing. Like you will mess up 15 times a day, if not more, from the moment that he's born or even the moment that you find out you're pregnant. Like you got to let go of that real fast. So
What
I
about
think
a
it's
mom-
relaxed me more.
What about like moms that have like 3 or 4 kids, and like they just don't, like the kids are off just going nuts, and the mom at some point learned, like, yeah, I need to kind of chill out and like just let things go.
Oh
and
yeah.
if the kids are smashing each other with 2x4s or something, then there's nothing you can do. The kids are going to kind of work some of these things out on their own. and then you try to assess whatever situations they run into, and if somebody really got hurt, you try to help. But
You know, I actually get like performance anxiety. So I talked about how I was really bad at competing. I think it's because I was so nervous that people were watching me. The mom performance anxiety. If I'm alone with him and he's like fussy, upset, totally fine, doesn't bother me at all. But if I feel like he's like, why is the baby upset? Like what? And he doesn't talk to me like that at all. But I put that on him. Or like I remember when he was first born.
Oh yeah.
He was like crying when I was changing his diaper, and you came running upstairs. You're like, "What's wrong with him?" And I'm just like, babies cry. Like he's gonna cry. And it was more the pressure of seeming like a good mom to other people than it was me actually thinking that I wasn't being one.
it's so funny with babies. A lot of times, when you're amongst family, they're like, oh, maybe they always say the baby's gassy, or the baby's tired, or the baby's hungry, or the baby's wet. And it's like, no, I went through the checklist of things.
Thank you.
And you
Thank
know
you
why
for
the
that.
baby's crying? It's because it's a fucking baby.
Oh yeah.
That's what they do sometimes. Like sometimes they're just upset, and like,
Yeah.
who knows why? Maybe something scared them. Like everything's new to them.
Mm-hmm.
You bring a baby to like the grocery store or something, you see their eyes just like light up. Like everything's new. The lights are new. The smell is new. Every single thing. All these new people are around. All these new scents and different things are going on. The new sounds. Like, yeah, of course they're going to be like upset here and there. They go through a lot every day.
And it's their only form of communication. Like they can't talk. So like, I read a lot about it, and it's like babies need to cry. Like it's their only outlet. And so you got to let them, you can't soothe them every single time.
Are
It's
you
their
guys
only
going to mess with
communication.
the cry it out method?
So we couldn't do it.
We tried. It was really hard. It was really hard for her. I was like kind of.
He's like 2 now, basically,
He's
or
like he's closer to a year than he is to 2. He's 15 months.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so we tried it, man, and it's kind of painful, right? When we couldn't let it go past like 30 minutes because you're just like, it didn't feel right to us. But now, luckily, he's gotten to the point where, because he was a horrible sleeper, horrible.
He didn't sleep through the night till he was like 11 months old, like ever. Not, I mean, maybe once, but the rest of the time from day 1 to 11 months, it was every 2 hours. Sometimes every 45 minutes, he was awake.
You guys ever swaddle him?
We
Oh,
tried
we
that.
tried
He hated swaddling. He
everything.
never took a binky. He
So
hated a bottle.
I had like a straight jacket for my
you know-
kids. I got the Miracle blanket, and
Yeah.
I tucked my son in there like a little freaking burrito,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had it just set up just so like the binky was barely in there, the pacifier, and it was just like he couldn't move. His arms were locked down to his side,
Yeah.
and he would sleep, all through the night like that way. But
Yeah, he finally
didn't work on my daughter.
Yeah, 14 months is finally when he hit like something hit with him where he was just like,
Now he sleeps.
he sleeps, and I'm able to just read him his books at night. She goes through the night routine, and then she passes him off to me. I read him his books, lay him in the crib, he's out. And it's just like
He doesn't fight it at all now.
No, but before you would feel so bad, man, because it's 2 in the morning.
Look at baby.
Yeah.
Good parenting right there.
You know what? When I see videos like this, I feel, and I'm glad every morning, gave me so much joy because he was such a happy camper in the morning. But at 2 or 3 in the morning, those were the hardest hours because when he's not
So mad.
sleeping, like, she couldn't go in and see him because she was still nursing at the time. So if she goes in and just tries to put him to sleep, he just wants to be nursed. And so that didn't work. So I was like, I'm going to take on this night role right now and, let me go in there. But I would just remember getting so frustrated at him to the point where you just, because that's when they can start pushing you back, like at 6, 7, 8 months, they start pushing you back, right? So I would have to literally bear hug him so tight and just rock him up and down. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I was like, I'm getting really aggressive right now, and just like, and you just feel so bad. And, but then when they, you wake up in the morning, they just get all happy and stuff. You're like, thank goodness. I'm glad you forgot about what I did last night.
Well, the joke is like, it's like having your friend that every time you go out to the bar, that they get blackout drunk
Yeah.
and they try to get your whole group into a fight and you almost get arrested. And then the next morning, they don't remember any of it. They're just like, hey, what's up, guys? And
Yeah,
you're
that
like,
was him.
seriously?
That was him for sure.
Yeah, he was always so happy the next morning, and
Yeah.
he didn't remember how mad he was at you several hours before. And,
Oh yeah.
I got some
So
advice
funny.
for new dads out there,
Oh, okay.
and this is a good one for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you come home and it's a long day. Maybe you were out and the wife was home with the kid, and it just she has that look in her eye like she's gonna roundhouse kick your head right off your shoulders. Just whatever you got to do, say, hey, like, I'll take care of the kid. Like, why don't you go see a movie, or like call your sister or call your girlfriend, or, maybe it'd be good for you to like go on a trip, or like go get a massage, or like just whatever you can offer up for your time.
Oh yeah.
Try to do it. It'll pay, it'll pay off big time, because sometimes moms just don't get any breaks.
No.
They don't get any reprieve at all. So just throwing that out there to new dads out there, because that things like that can make a big difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when there was a few times with both of our kids where my wife's like, I just want to take a shower. Like, that's it. She's like, I just want to, I just need like 10 minutes to take a shower. And, you got one kid that's screaming because, it's still a baby. And you got the other kid like following you everywhere. I don't know why my kids, they would like follow you into the bathroom. I'm like, I'm taking a dump, like. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to go to the bathroom. Can I have any time to myself? But with my wife, it was 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Because with me, like, they just kind of, I don't know, they just hang around me. They don't really want or need anything a lot of times.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be hanging out with them, and then they'll turn around and ask their mom to make them a sandwich. And I'm like, I
can do this.
Yeah, I can do it. Then they're like, no, you can't. You can't make a sandwich.
Can you, though? Can you?
I know. They're going to be like, you can't make a sandwich like mom can. And I'm like, all right.
It's made
Screw
with
it.
love. We, I think the hardest thing for me that I've had to really realize recently is I need like moments completely by myself, like you're saying, because we have Knox. We also have 4 dogs, which are extremely annoying because we just got a puppy and they fight with each other. Then we have the employees, which I love them more than anything, but for some reason I'm like the mom of the office. So if you have a question about anything, literally anything, if they don't ask Julian questions. No one asks Julian what we should do. It's not like, hey, what do you think about this idea or this Instagram post, or did you see this?
Shame. He looks like an intelligent guy.
I know.
Oh, I don't mind.
It's always it's me every time. So like we pay for an office space. I can't work at home because if I can hear Knox, I want to play with him. If he's upset, I want to soothe him. But if I go to the office, I can't get any work done because people are chatting with me. So I'll go to Starbucks by myself and work completely
That's my hideout. I
alone.
go to coffee shops. I go to
yeah,
Phil's.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, we're bragging about your Phil's. We don't have Phil's up there, okay?
Sorry. Do you consider your workout time to yourself, or that's not enough? Or do you guys work out together?
We work out together, and a lot of times it's our whole staff there together.
So even if you did
So-
work out by yourself, though, that's not what you're talking about. You probably just need just a few minutes, even half an hour,
Completely alone.
just to listen to some music, go for a walk, or
Yeah.
just
Yes.
chill at a coffee shop.
Well, we
or something
just
like
recently
that.
had to sit her down and be like, look, we got to work something out where you have alone time because then you need to stop even worrying about me, because she would feel like she was being a bad wife because with all the things she's like, but then I want to make sure you're okay. I was like, I'm okay. I actually need you to be okay for me to be okay. I was like, so I think, we talk about a lot of things. And I was like, when you wake up in the morning, bring Knox down to me. I'll feed him breakfast. You go in the garage. You go do your thing. Have alone time and don't worry. I was like, stop worrying about me. Seriously. I was like, you're doing too good of a job.
You know what? Being an adult is like complicated.
Yeah, it
People
is.
talk about how hard it is, like being in high school and all these different phases.
Uh-huh.
But being an adult is really complicated. It's just like there's all these plates you got to spin.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I got my business. Like, there's going to be some place where you have financial gain, right? There's going to be some place that you make money. And then there's going to be the relationship with your wife, with your kids, and you got other family members. And you're
Yeah.
like, how do I juggle all this shit? And then you got to juggle your own emotions. Like, as a kid, I don't remember ever being like, I need alone time.
No way.
I just need to go to a coffee shop, bro, and chill out. Like, let me just
Yeah.
get a coffee and just sit down. Like, I never needed that as a kid,
No, you don't even think about it. And it's funny. So before I was in CrossFit, I was actually in the bodybuilding scene.
Here we go.
And
Talking about her biceps.
And what I was going to say is, regardless of whether you're trying to be a pro bodybuilder or if you're trying to like be big into the powerlifting and you're going and competing in powerlifting, or if you're a CrossFitter, going back to what we were talking about before, people kind of getting stuck in it, I think it's an excuse to not have to juggle all the plates. You have the one plate and you don't hang out with your friends and you don't have a real career and you don't maybe have a relationship or spend as much time worrying about that stuff, but you always can just be like, oh yeah, well, I'm really focused on making it to the games this year, so I don't have time for this, this, and this. And I think, and it might be powerlifting or bodybuilding, because
I think it would go with anything, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, the bodybuilders that I knew that were really trying to get their pro card or whatever, they could use it as an excuse to be completely antisocial, to not have real jobs or anything, because they were so focused on this thing. And now you see people like in their 30s still using that. It's an excuse not to participate in life.
They use it in a context that they try to spin it off to be like more positive. And like, I'm just super competitive. I'm like, no, you're an idiot.
Yep.
Like, let's make no mistake about it. You're an idiot because you're not growing as a person.
Yes.
You're growing with your CrossFit workouts and your Fran time got better, but you're an idiot.
Yeah. No.
And that hasn't changed because you're not trying to expand. So it's like, yeah, you're getting better at some of these workouts, and that's cool. If that's the only goal, then I guess you're killing it.
And it does nothing for anybody, but you're not helping anybody. Like having a 315 snatch on Instagram is cool. It's like cool. People will double click it, but it doesn't really give anything back to the world.
You get people to hit that like button.
Exactly. You might up your followers a little bit, but that's it.
Yeah, social media plays into all this in a huge way. Has your social media changed, over a period of time? Because you used to be, so heavy into CrossFit, and now you guys have your own programming. You guys have workouts that are probably quite different than CrossFit workouts. So has your audience changed?
So my audience started changing the moment I started posting pictures of him. I would lose followers anytime I posted.
They're like, what?
They're like, who's this guy? I thought I had a chance. Forget it. Like, I'm out of here.
What the hell?
And so I lost followers when we got in a relationship because we were.
You know how many men just crying, just bawling? I can't believe she did this to me. I'm on here every day.
So that was the first step. And then, of course, as soon as I got pregnant, it was like, no abs.
Like, ew.
Ew, this is real life? Gross. Yeah. Like, I'm out of here. So I lost some followers when I was pregnant too, but then I noticed a shift in followers where it used to be like more like 70-30 guys, and it's more now like 50-50 or even more of a split where there's more and more women. And one thing that he noticed a lot was you don't get a lot of haters on your Instagram anymore because,
I took them all.
You and I...
Oh, man, I got a lot.
You and I are friends because people used to joke around with me about how I was on steroids and this and that, and because I was just too jacked for Instagram, I guess, and I don't really get a lot of that anymore. I get really defensive moms now. Like, so if somebody does come on there and say something rude about me and whatsoever, the moms... That's the meanest group in the world.
Oh, my God.
Especially on social media.
Oh, yeah.
They will attack you.
I've seen what my wife and her friends can do. Like, my wife was the PTA president for a little while, and I've seen what these women are capable of doing. Like,
terrifying.
They come in like a SWAT team.
Oh, yeah.
Just setting up, like, snacks and stuff for people. Like, they're setting up, like, coffee and setting up chairs and tables, and they've got donuts and fruit and all these different things. But they come in like they're on a mission. They come flying out of their Honda Odysseys, and they'll just knock your ass right over. I'm like, holy shit, let's not get in their way. But you're right. The moms are very determined. They ain't got time to mess around.
Oh, yeah. Very opinionated, too, though, so you got to be careful. I think one time I posted a picture, not like an over-the-top one. I said something about how I was breastfeeding, but I was covered up, and I was breastfeeding Knox. And... oh man, I lost a lot of followers that day. It's so funny because lately I've been posting some things that it's like maybe a little bit more harsh. Like, hey, like if you're overweight, it's probably because you need to change something about your life and stop trying to fit donuts into your macros, type of a thing, right? And I'll post something like that, or the breastfeeding thing that can be somewhat controversial. I'll lose a lot of followers on the posts where I also get hundreds of comments. It's a conversation. Like, people really believe strongly one way or the other, and so that's been interesting. But moms are very opinionated, and they're very judgy sometimes. So
some of those conversations can be really hard, even though really all you're trying to do is help people.
Yep.
But it's tough because I think that somebody would look at you and just be like, well, she's probably just always been super fit. She's probably always been in great shape. She's super pretty, and she doesn't understand, what I go through as a mom. And so that's how people are going to probably frame some of that. if I said how I really feel all the time, I wouldn't have any friends, and I'd have zero of a social media following, because I can't really. It's hard to say something and really convey the message the right way. You're not trying to hurt anybody, not trying to make anybody sad, but at the same time, you're saying, look, you're fat because you're fat, because you have nasty habits. You have really bad habits. You're not eating properly. It's messing up your sleep.
Yeah.
You're not exercising. That's kind of throwing everything off. Like, let's just see if we can get you to move. Can we figure that out?
And I'm going to tell you that it's going to take you a long time, and it's going to suck while you're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
because that's not the
It's
message.
not gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be. There's a few things that are easy, like going for a walk is not complicated. But if you have no desire to do it, then it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But most people listen to podcasts. Most people listen to YouTube. Most people listen to music. Find something that you can listen to, and just see if you can go for a stroll. If it's too cold or too hot, then stay inside and do it on a piece of exercise. Like, you don't have to try to work out maybe the way that we're working out, but you need to get moving in that direction. I do believe eventually, I think everybody should be lifting weights. Just, I think there's way too many benefits for it. But to try to sympathize with people and try to say, okay, can we just get one thing going? I've been able to share that message with my mom and my dad. My mom hasn't committed to the exercise, but she committed to the diet.
That's good.
And my dad was the reverse. My dad committed to the exercise first. Now he's doing both.
Nice.
He's 182 pounds or something like that. And that's the lightest he's been in his adult life.
Wow.
Period. He's always been heavy. He's like 5'4" or something like that. And he's been heavy his whole life. So has my mom. And it's like, can we do one thing, or can we just be better than we were before? Like, let's forget about all these different diets and these different plans and this message of consistency and all that. Let's just see if we can do like one thing for a little while. And what I've been trying to tell people too is they'll think, oh, I can't go 3 times a week, so I can't. They might look at your programming.
It's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
I either have to do all of it all the time, or I'm not going to do any of it because it's not worth it.
I'm going to wait till January.
Yeah, January's coming up, right? And
It's like, shit, January's so far away right now, you know? Like, don't wait till January.
It's funny, too, because what I've found is, like, people will really wreck themselves and do, like, a cleanse for, like, a month, but they won't change habits forever. Like, they'll not eat at all and just drink like cayenne pepper and maple syrup or whatever random thing it is, but they won't eat vegetables a couple times a day for the rest of their life. Like, that's asking too much.
I find all that just unbelievably interesting. Somebody will buy like whey protein, but then there's not really any other follow up in the rest of what they're doing. They'll even just trying to appear to look nice. You spend a lot of money on clothes. You spend a lot of money on makeup.
Don't even get me started on that one.
I've been 330 pounds, and when you're 330 pounds and you go shopping, guess what looks good? Nothing.
Yeah, not much.
And when you're in better shape and you feel good about yourself, you're like, oh, I could kind of rock anything. I feel awesome. This is great.
Yep.
Nothing. This is gonna really offend some people, but nothing irritates me more or gets me like more just angry inside of my heart than a woman who will come up to me with a face of makeup that I know, because of the very little that I do know about makeup, took at least 45 minutes. That tells me they don't have time to work out. And I'm like,
you're being generous with 45 minutes.
He knows some.
He knows more about makeup than you do.
He actually does.
He's a movie star.
No. My ex-girlfriends.
So, the little that I know, and I'm just like, spend less time on the contour and just give me 10 minutes of, whatever. Some, like you said, walking, run up and down the stairs a few times a day. I don't care.
People get sensitive about that because they're like, oh, I do it for, to be confident. It makes me feel good. It's like, I guarantee you working out will make you feel good and give you confidence.
Yeah.
Well, and the things that you do for yourself will always be a lot stronger than things that you do to yourself. Putting on makeup is something that you do to yourself, but it's not necessarily for you. You put the makeup on. It's like a daily thing that you have to do every day, and it doesn't like sustain itself. As where if you lift weights and you build up some muscle, as long as you're eating correctly, you can hold on to that. That's something that you can keep, and it can increase your metabolism. It can help you burn calories, and it can kind of help you get ahead. What I see from a lot of people is I see so many people, and I like the message you guys are sharing with your business, is I just see so many people that each and every day they're just a little bit behind. And it's because there's not really enough thought process going into the day. There's not a preparatory phase for this particular day. There's no prep towards it. Whereas they'll prep for, you might prep for like a celebration. Say it's somebody's 40th birthday party. You might prep a bunch for that and get everything all organized and make sure you have the right food and everything. But meanwhile, you don't prep for each day the same way. And it'd be very simple to just say, what does my eating look like coming up? Like I told myself that I'm too fat. I told myself I want to lose weight. I want to do something about it. I wanted to just treat myself like a kid. And you never send your kid out of the house without some sort of plan about food. Hey, here's $10. If you stop somewhere, $20, and hey, here's your lunch for school or whatever. Like I don't ever send my children out without. There's even my son who's 14. Like he just might not like pay attention to it. But you need to regulate that yourself as an adult. You should never leave the house without an understanding of like where, when, what's it going to look like, and if you have a goal of trying to be healthier, then there's going to have to be some thought put into it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same like with Knox. He's 15 months old, and yesterday we went shopping, and it's like, okay, how long are we going to be gone for? All right, let's pack him 2 snacks because you just know. And it's the same. I mean, I bring snacks for us too. We just I like what you're saying because it's so true.
Yeah, you go on a road trip. Like if you're going to drive somewhere for 2 hours, like who doesn't like kind of bring like a snack with them? You don't really need it necessarily.
Yeah.
But you're just kind of like, oh, I'm going to be kind of bored in the car, and like I'll bring something nutritious with me. That also it keeps you ahead because you're not starving when you get to the destination, and now you're not going to have this crazy breakdown of eating a big giant pile of pizza.
That's right.
Pizza lover over here, right?
I do love pizza. I don't.
Is that your favorite?
It is my favorite. I don't eat it as much as I used to. Because I'm not training as much as I used to, so I
can't afford it anymore.
I don't even know that that's true. I don't crave it as much anymore.
No, you don't crave it as much. No.
Yeah, I don't think my body's
We
like
actually
starving for calories as much as it used to be.
We look forward to like a good breakfast nowadays, like French toast or like a good solid steak and eggs.
You went spicy this morning, buddy.
I went for it.
He was like sweating.
Yeah, I was hurting for sure.
He just got quiet for like a little bit, and he just he ended up going through some man law procedures of like they told him that it was hot and he was like, screw that, I'm not buying that, and he took a bite and he was like, ooh.
That was more like Mexican pride. That was like, I'm not gonna admit that that
wasn't Mexican pride. That was like, oh man,
spicy because I'm a strong Mexican man and I can deal with spicy food.
Nothing to do with being Mexican. It was just more of strong pride.
I feel like it's a Mexican thing.
How did you get involved in athletics in the first place?
My dad, when we were younger, he used to love playing soccer. He actually would go out and we'd go to the park and he'd go run laps around the soccer field, and he was super active. He would get home from work and he still does it to this day, but he's like a dairyman, so he like milks the cows and stuff. And he would work 12-hour shifts. He'd come home and he would wake us up first thing in the morning and play soccer with us. It was like super early, 7:30. But back then, now you look at it and it's like, I'm so glad he did that because, you just look forward to spending time with his kids, from being gone a 12-hour shift. With
Did you not want to do that, or is that something you looked?
It's like 7:30. You're like tired. You're like, oh gosh, I don't want to wake up. But then, having all that, like he was super supportive in soccer and sports and all that stuff. So since I was younger, I was always doing sports and I really enjoyed it. I'd never really defined myself as a smart person. I defined myself more as an athletic person because my brother was the smart person. I was more of the athlete, which is something that I've had to overcome actually as I've gotten older. But yeah, I've enjoyed sports.
Overcome in what way? Like that was kind of your identity. You were the jock kind of thing, and
yeah. Actually, like I always looked to ask my brother for advice. I was like, my brother's super smart. My brother, because he would do all these like honors classes, all these camps on the summers and stuff, and I was always just the athlete, And so looking back at that now, or looking now that I have a son of my own, teaching him that he is smart from the get-go, or telling him he's smart, having him believe it is so important.
Yeah, you don't have to look any further than in the mirror to
Exactly.
find a lot of the answers that you want.
Well,
I mean,
'cause
it always starts with yourself.
And now we have a successful business, and I still like have, I'm like, all right, well, I have to disconnect from, all these numbers and all these crazy things that, make you feel like you're being a smart person, right? When, there's many things that define you as being smart. And
Well,
No,
and
there's a difference between just like general intelligence and like good grades in school.
yeah,
It gives you good perspective, though, on what someone might go through
Mhm.
that you may be trying to help with exercise.
for sure.
I'm not an exercise. That's not me. Like, that's you guys. You guys are fitness freaks,
Mhm.
and they just think that you're so different than them.
hmm
And it's like, actually, we're so much more similar
Oh yeah.
than you could possibly ever imagine. Like, yeah, okay, we have some different interests, and
hmm
I like to do different things with my time than maybe the other person does, right? But the struggle is still the same, like
Mhm.
trying to squeeze in these workouts and trying to manage what you're going to do with your child for the day, and it's still all the same story. But I think when you tell yourself you can't do something, like that is just so it's so incredibly negative. And
Mhm.
I'm that way. Like, something with computers or different things, I'm like,
Yes.
nah, it's not me.
Mhm.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy just to be like, nope, I don't know anything about any of that.
Yeah.
I don't want no responsibility for it. And that's a tough life to live, because usually that spirals down, and usually it's
does.
like, you know what? Nothing matters. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how organized I am. I'm still going to have this food prep company,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to take calls old fashioned way. I'm just going to write it down. I'm going to deliver shit in the middle of the night.
Well, that's actually, once I started learning, like when we first met, I didn't even own I was 26. I didn't own a laptop. I was used to,
I was like, I would come with my laptop to his house, and I'd stay over, and
You and I are twins, buddy.
oh man,
and,
I was like, nah.
Everything from my phone.
Yeah.
it was shocking. It was. I was like, how do you not own a computer?
Yeah, and then I've learned ever since, like, she's pushed me to become a better person big time, like, and believe in myself. And now, I've learned to, organize these spreadsheets and all these things. And then once I get into it, I'll start YouTubing videos. If I have a question, I'll YouTube it. Now with anything, I know that I can do it for sure.
Isn't it funny, though? Your mindset before is like,
Exactly.
spreadsheets, have no idea how to do
For
it.
sure.
Not
And
even
now-
going to try.
And now I'll show people how to like
Mhm.
create one. I'm like, all right, this is how I want it organized. Da 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 da. I make a lot of jokes sometimes. I'm like, man, the 2015 Julian would have walked away from this person now, because it would have been too hard.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, and now, like, knowing that I have the ability to do all that stuff has been the greatest thing ever.
My
Mhm.
wife, it's just, I don't know. I don't even understand it sometimes. She's so intelligent in so many different ways. But like, just something with our business, where somebody does a project for us. Like, I have a lot of friends that do side projects for us, and they're not the most organized people in the world, and they're not super professional, and I'm just trying to give them a little boost, and it helps us, it helps them,
Mhm.
and my wife's like, look, they need to send an invoice, and I'm like, well, the guy's, he's artistic and stuff, and like, he isn't, he isn't really, and she's like, it's so simple for this guy to produce it. She's like, don't tell me that he can't, produce
Yeah.
an invoice. Like, it's just too easy. She's like, we can't write him a check unless he just has to do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So these things that you kind of say you can't do can be super limiting. And in this
Mhm.
case, it could cost you some money.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. With what you were saying about like people not realizing how much they have in common with you or us when it comes to like, hey, I got to figure out when I'm going to work out. I'm trying to deal with the kid, and I'm trying to figure out how old the rice in the refrigerator is, and if I can still eat it. Like, it's the same. We try to show
Sniff
as
test.
we try to show as much of that as possible, because going back to like social media, I think that most fitness influencers, whether regardless of what, if they're a bodybuilder or powerlifter, they only show the highlights. They only show the PRs and the Wonder
Yeah.
Maxes and the cool muscle up snatch workouts, or the pose downs or whatever you want to call it. They don't show all the real side stuff, and so we actually do. We try to show a lot of it, and people
Especially to our
really,
community, the street parking community is we like to connect them on every day, actually.
Yeah, so we'll do a lot of the workouts. We'll go live on our Instagram, and they'll see us dying doing the work, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you guys just breezed through everything, and it was always perfect." And they see, the struggles, or we'll be like, I really don't feel like working out today, and we're about to do this anyway, and I'm going to actually scale the workout back because I'm exhausted because Knox didn't sleep. And we try to show as much of that as possible to humanize it a little bit, because again, the highlight reel doesn't help anybody.
Right.
It gets you the double clicks, but it doesn't help anybody. So.
Everything's difficult. When I was a kid, when I'd think about my parents, or I wouldn't even really think about them necessarily, but I just knew they were married. Like mom and dad like have the best relationship ever. And I never once was made aware of any hurdle. I've heard them like get in arguments or whatever, but yeah, you just think that like things just happen. Like, oh, you guys have a business together, and it's like, no, man, like everything takes thought, everything takes work. Just because you're married doesn't mean you get along every day.
Nope.
And just because you love each other a lot doesn't mean you love every single thing about each other. There's, I'm sure we can ask you and ask you 5, 10, 20 things that you're like, yeah, drives me freaking nuts when he does this, drives me nuts when she does that. But it's a constant thing that has to be worked on all the time. And like you're mentioning with having some time to yourself, I think that's really valuable. I think everyone should spend some time with themselves. I think, and you were saying that a lot of the answers come from you. You were asking your brother for stuff, and it's just so easy to kind of fall into that trap. Now, it's great to bounce ideas off other people.
Right.
It's also great just to make people feel good when you ask them questions and you ask them stuff. It's just part of human interaction. But you kind of want a party of one when you're trying to really make life's biggest decisions.
Yeah.
Those, and it's kind of funny that these things come up. And for example, a few days ago, a family member told me that they have no willpower, and I said, "Oh my God!" I said, that could not be further from the truth. I'm like, you're like, are you kidding me? You don't have? Are you serious? You don't have willpower? Okay, maybe you struggle with the foods you're eating right now. I was like, you have a tremendous amount of willpower. I'm like, you've done this. I'd rattle off all these things that they did. I was like, that takes a lot of willpower, determination. I was like, you have all that. I'm gonna give them like a football speech before they like run out on the field. But I think people need to understand that, and they need to kind of just break down and analyze the things that are going on. Because everything can seem so damn confusing. Even when you guys talk about your business and you start to talk about the different things that you want to do, well, you could talk about like 75 different things, and you can be like, oh man, we're not going to get any of this done. But if you break down one or two good ideas and say, okay, well, if we do A, B, C, and D, if we follow it all the way through to the end, we could easily get that done.
Yeah, going back to like the whole thing of people, especially, it's hard for people to get really motivated and continue to just be dedicated, right? When they don't have a support system. And with us, with street parking, we see it all the time, right? Like, our membership people, it's catered for people to do workouts at home, garage gyms, traveling, all that stuff. But one of the things that Miranda and I do, and even all our team, we go on social media every single day for multiple hours to comment on every single person. We have one employee literally who just goes under the hashtag street parking and comments on every single one of our members' posts, because how important it is, especially when you're alone and these people aren't the fittest people. They're real people, right? They're just like, 150, 200, just starting whatever journey they are, but they'll post about it. They don't have a big following. You see like 3 likes on their post. Right. But no, we'll go on there and we'll just hit them with that comment like, hey, good job today. Like, you're crushing it. Letting them know that they're being acknowledged every single day. And it's just because it could be easy for somebody to lose motivation when they have nobody pushing them.
Well, I think like a huge mistake that people make too is they have big goals, which I think is great to have a big goal, whether it's to lose 100 pounds or whether it's to make $10 million, whatever it is. But if you start from a place where you can't even imagine that being your reality and you only look at the like final product, it's going to seem way too overwhelming. One thing that we say a lot is it's one day at a time. Don't be motivated for next Wednesday. Be motivated for right now, today. Right. Do it today, and then find the motivation for tomorrow. And just one day at a time is a huge thing for us, because it is hard to like think about something it's going to take a long time, and then they just lose motivation with that. So, this is nice.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I think empathy is a big thing. You have to really when you're thinking about like, man, I'm so frustrated. How come this person can't gain momentum with exercise? Or like I've tried to help them a bunch of times and they lost 10 pounds and they gained 20 back and so on. And you get really frustrated, but you just have to kind of understand that while we do have a lot of similarities, that person just is different with their thought process of nutrition, and they're different with their thought process when it comes to exercise. And it just might take them longer.
Yeah.
As a kid in school, like it wasn't like I was not capable of learning, but it just took me a really long time. And so unfortunately, it would leave me behind in a lot of my classes, and it made things a little bit harder for me, but it didn't mean that I couldn't do it. And I think that's the frustration sometimes. There we go.
Look at that floss.
Oh, he's working on those moves.
What's so floppy?
I was working on making it that bad. On purpose.
That's good acting right there.
Yeah.
Oh, you got everybody's dancing.
Yeah, so we
yeah.
they started a hashtag SP Dance Party, and it's one of the reasons you work out at home is so you can just do this kind of stuff and nobody cares.
We love to highlight members very often, all the time. Like, yeah,
That's
we do
great.
Nice.
That's what exercise does for you. It makes you a little crazy.
Absolutely.
It makes you do stuff that you otherwise probably wouldn't be messing with.
And a lot of the benefit of working out at home and what we love about our community is we do get people a lot of times that they want to work out and they're intimidated to go into a gym where
Right.
other people might be watching them. So, I
Yeah.
mean, clearly not those people that are filming themselves dancing and posting it on Instagram. They're not so worried about it. But we do get a lot of people who I've always wanted to try this type of workout, but I'm scared. I didn't want people
Right.
watching me. And
You're getting
so,
judged. People
Yeah.
get judged.
yeah.
Yeah, I've talked about that before, like in a CrossFit setting or in a powerlifting setting, like at least you're kind of amongst some of your own people, and you don't feel as weird doing it. So for example, like if we went to Planet Fitness and tried to do our deadlifts and squats, they'd hit the lunk
Of
alarm
course,
and
we'd be out.
yeah, we'd be booted out of there
Yeah.
in seconds flat. And if you're training in your garage, you don't have to worry about any of those things. And what I've seen happen here with the men and women that have trained here, the confidence boost. I've talked about this before on the show where some of the women, like, they're only work out in like sweats or leggings and they're uncomfortable, wearing shorts and different things. But as they start training here longer and they realize, like, look, all anyone cares about here is getting stronger. They're not really, we're not really, trying to get after each other in these other ways or whatever. And we're not like looking at you weird for you doing a movement the wrong way or whatever it might be. And so people, through exercise and through gaining strength, they feel better about themselves. And so, next thing you know, they're running around in a pair of short shorts and you're like, you know what? That in and of itself is awesome. Like that's cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that. We watched a movie recently. What's the actress's name?
The Amy Schumer one.
The Amy Schumer movie. It's called I Feel Pretty.
Yeah.
And she basically like hits her head and she doesn't look any different, but she sees this like supermodel person. And so she walks around with all this confidence and she gets a new job and she gets a boyfriend and she looks the same as she's always looked, but it's just that confidence and her being funny and being herself and everything. And then, of course, moral of the story at the end, she realizes that she looked the same the whole time.
Right,
and it was
right.
the confidence that did it, but it's so true.
It is, because I hate Amy Schumer. I really hate her. But I can't even look at her. But anyway, I was able to look at her.
She's funny.
Ah, God,
She is
I don't know
funny.
what it is. But in this movie, I was like,
I could hang out with
I
her.
could hang out with her when she was going through her whole like confidence, just being I don't know. There's something about it. I was like, oh my gosh, it was great.
With the business that you guys have, how did it get started?
So really funny. It wasn't supposed to be like a business at first. I was traveling a lot. I wasn't doing seminars as much anymore, but I was working for a supplement company and traveling a lot to different events and things like that. And also just, I don't know, doing random like appearances at places as Miranda, who, I don't know, just riding that whole social media train, I guess. So I was traveling a lot. We were traveling a lot together. He had his meal prep company, so he was super busy, and he lived in LA, which the gym that he trained at was not too far away, but if you go at the wrong time of day, it's like 45 minutes. So we both started posting a lot more workouts at home or for me in hotel gyms or just random places working out. And what we noticed was the response to the simple workouts that were done either at home or in like a hotel gym were people tagging each other. Hey, I could do this one. I could do this one at my house. We could do this one when we go to Cabo or whatever. And I was like, man, like I get more comments on this random like kettlebell workout on my balcony than I do if I go do something crazy CrossFit-y impressive at the gym.
You
And
guys didn't even realize that was a thing because you've been exercising for so long.
yeah, you didn't really think
know.
about it.
You're like, oh, we just did this because this is what we have in our garage.
Yep.
And he had his super funny cousin who was not fit at all working out with him. And he would scale it back for him. And he was scaling push-ups to where he was touching his chest on like a plate because he didn't have the strength for full range of motion push-ups type thing. And a huge response from that. And so I said, we should start a different Instagram page for these types of workouts. And then maybe a month later, it was like, hey, we should create a program like super cheap where people can follow it. We could get 100 members. It would help us pay our rent. We'd have a little community. It'd be great. And it just exploded.
That's great.
The need for it was much bigger than we realized. And
Yeah.
I think it's still bigger than we realize.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot. I mean,
No.
there's exercises like something like a wall sit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
good luck with that one. Like, that's like the worst exercise ever. But it's something that could burn a lot of calories. All you need is a sturdy wall to lean up against. You got things like lunges and squats
Exactly.
and push-ups. And then there's so many different variations of things. There's mountain climbers and burpees. And, I mean, the list of even just trying old school, like crab walk, from when you were in school.
Oh yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff or bear crawl. That kind of stuff is devastating.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's amazing how bad it kicks your ass. You're like,
The bear walks,
really?
Oh my
Like,
gosh, big time.
yeah, you can't do them for very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of created it with the idea of all you need is like a set of dumbbells and a jump rope, and you can do almost all of our workouts. And then, we do put the options on there for if you have more equipment, how you can alter it to make it work for if you do have a bar and plates and stuff like that and a pull-up bar and all of that. Or even if you have a full gym, here's the version of the workout. So everybody can do it. And some people have access to everything, and some people have literally their kettlebell and a set of dumbbells, and they can still make it work and feel like they're getting a lot done, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, especially seeing all the members in our community, like how excuses are completely thrown out the window. They really are. Like, there's people that have squat racks in their apartment balcony. There are members that will take their barbell outside of their second story apartment to the front just to get a quick workout in. Moms, you see their babies on the floor while they're in their living room watching TV. Like, it's so cool to see that and to know that. I just think that our message, especially being at the top level of fitness right now, are allowing people to see how simple it really is and not to overcomplicate it. And I think that, and I'm glad people are realizing that, and we just really want that message to be heard. It's like, just move. Just there's so much you can do. So we're gonna, just get movement in every day.
Yeah, you can read a book on exercise that's 1,000 pages. Like you can get really deep into it, and you can you can go to these seminars and get really locked into how complex some of these training systems are, or you speak you do seminars for CrossFit and stuff like that, and you can really get into the weeds of coaching a clean and jerk. I mean, that could take, not even just hours, but it could take decades to be worth anything on a clean and jerk, But you can simplify exercise as well.
What I've seen, and it's funny because I do come from training at this CrossFit seminars, and I was a very high-level ranked trainer for CrossFit, and I owned a gym and everything. But nothing irritates me more than when the members of Street Parking you can tell they had an experience with a coach at some point that made it seem like if you're not moving perfectly, you shouldn't be allowed to exercise.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where they've had, or if you aren't actively trying to, snatch your body weight, then what are you even doing here? Like, get out of here. Like, it's pointless for you to even work out. We see that kind of thing where they're like, oh, well, I just have my little dumbbells and it's not much. And I know I'm scaling. I'm sorry. Like, apologizing for it. It's crazy. And I know that's probably not just a CrossFit thing, but to where they've had it like beat into them that it has to be more complicated than it needs to be, and it's kind of sad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to be the exact same strength as somebody to work out with somebody. I mean, there's people have these like roadblocks that they hit when it comes to like getting in the gym, and the reasons why the reasons why they don't want to go, or they start to really stack up. Andrew and I train together all the time, and
Yeah.
he's at a different place in his fitness life than I am, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make any difference. It's not hard or complicated to change the plates out. But I think there's something like in our psyche that wants to kind of overcomplicate things and make things harder than they need to be. Maybe it's so we can kind of put our hands up and say, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, in my experience, it's just been that, Mark's hit these crazy numbers. I can only dream of hitting like his warm-up sets at this point. So for me, I want to do more. I look around, like we were at the Slingshot Record Breakers this weekend. Some of these lightweight females, their openers are way above my PRs. And so I'm sitting there looking at them and I'm just like, dude, I got to get stronger. So for me, I do have a bit of a complex, like where I want to do way more. And whereas Mark, he can just be like, no, we're going to take it easy today. I'm like, no, I can't. You don't understand. He's like, no, trust me. We're going to take it easy today because I haven't like accomplished much the way you guys have. So I think that's where some of the inexperience from inexperienced lifters comes from, and they end up hurting themselves and getting all, jacked up and whatnot. But I wanted to ask you guys, especially while Mark is gone now, where did the name Knox come from?
So, funny story. For anyone who's seen Knox, he has bright blue eyes. He and I have literally the exact same skin color. But I thought that Julian's strong genes were going to completely override my genes. And we knew his middle name was going to be Julian and his last name is Alcaraz. And I was like, if we name him something that's not basically something from my heritage, people are just going to think he's a little Mexican baby. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was afraid I was going to get lost in all of it and that he would have nothing of me,
Right.
because I figured that he would look a lot more like Julian when he came out. Well, so Knox is a Scottish name, which is I have Scottish in my family, and it's a Scottish name that it's not like it wasn't anybody's name like an ancestor or anything like that, but it's just a Scottish name that we both liked. It means from the hills, and I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, so I thought that was kind of cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But now I'm the one that goes to the store. I'm like, God, people probably think that I'm like babysitting this baby right now.
Like, that's so cool. The gardener's with you.
Exactly. I'm just like, gosh.
He looks so, yeah, he's a little white baby.
Mm-hmm.
Miranda, when did you get into lifting?
So when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader when I was a sophomore and a junior. And I went to like cardio kickboxing classes and rode the elliptical machine and stuff like that sometimes, but that's about it. One of the girls that was a senior when I was a junior in high school had a six-pack, and I thought that was super cool. So I asked her, I was like, hey, what's the deal with this? Like, how do I get that, And she said, run track. Do the track team next year. She's like, that's how I did it. And so the next year I ran track, and in track practice, they had a squatting and deadlifting and stuff. And that's kind of where it started. And then I started doing more like that when I went to the gym. Out of high school, I got a personal training certificate and was going to school for that kind of thing. And then I got a big time bodybuilder boyfriend. Like, he definitely was on all of the steroids, and had his pro card and everything. Competed on a very high level, and so, And then when we broke up, shortly after that, I think is when I found CrossFit and started doing more of that stuff.
As you started getting better shape and as you went through your CrossFit career, a lot of people accused you of steroids because of your physique, right? I mean, you were super lean, and yet, well, it's rare to see a woman with like a six-pack. I mean, we see women that are lean here and there, but it's rare to see a woman with a six-pack, and then you get kind of striated shoulders and traps, and everyone just assumes automatically like that doesn't happen naturally. What was the progression into some of that?
So I actually did one fitness show. I was Miss Fitness Utah. I think it was like 2002 or 3. So I did one fitness competition with the whole, like, one arm push up and backflips and all that kind of thing.
I don't even know if they do those anymore.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I don't think they do those anymore.
So I'm a rare breed. What's funny though is my upper body wasn't as jacked, I guess. It was as tan, but it was not as jacked. When I did that, I didn't get the level of upper body musculature until I started doing some of the gymnastics, CrossFit-y type movements. Plus, I was just kind of young when I did it. But so I don't even know if I'm answering your question, to be honest.
Did you like that style of training at all, or did
Like
you
the bodybuilding style?
Yeah, did you like competing in it and stuff, or not really?
So here's why I didn't like competing in it. A couple weeks after my show, literally someone came up to me in the gym, like in a regular gym, and was like, "Oh, like where'd your six-pack go?" Like a dude. And it wrecked me. Like it really, and so I really latched on to CrossFit because the first video that I saw of CrossFit was the Nasty Girls video, and a lot of people will talk about that video, and I latched on to this idea where you can compete and the girls do look great, but you don't get any points for looking great. You actually have to be able to do something with it, and I really liked the idea of that better than just standing up there and letting somebody decide if you look better than the person next to you.
Well, yeah, bodybuilding can be really crazy emotionally because you get in this like crazy great shape, and then it's like I can't really hold on to that.
No, yeah, and it's and so they only take pictures like certain times of year, and then the rest of the time they're like trying to hide themselves the whole time. I feel like it's nuts.
Yeah, it is. It's really pretty crazy. How did you feel when people started to accuse you of taking steroids? Or you just kind of blow it off, like what the hell? Like, why is that happening?
No, it made me angry. It made me angry. It didn't really start making me angry until after I broke my neck and came back from it, because what I had to do to come back from that was very difficult, mostly like emotionally and psychologically, to like push through that and to continue training. And I felt like accusing me of being on steroids took away from all that I had been through to achieve all of that. So it didn't really start bothering me until after that time, which I guess people didn't really say it about me as much before Instagram was like a thing.
Right.
So yeah, and then of course it bothered me. My mom used to get on there and she'd be like, "She won't even take ibuprofen."
Oh, that's great.
I'm like, "Mom, it's fine. It's okay."
Yeah, I think people just, they see something that's different and they don't know how to handle it. They see a woman with muscle. I think a lot of guys, even to this day, I hope one day the stigma's just gone, but even guys to this day will be like, intimidated by a girl that's got some muscle, and you'll hear girls still say like, I don't want to really work out like that because I don't want to like be big or muscular.
So take it back to when we first started dating. So his girlfriend before me, she's beautiful, but very not
soft,
CrossFit-y. Yes. And so he had been seeing her for a long time. A friend of his, when he started seeing me, literally like pulled him aside and was like, "Bro, are you sure you want to go down this road?" Like, what did he say to you?
We're no longer friends. No, he was just kind of like, he was just intimidated by a strong-looking woman is what it was.
Yeah, like he couldn't believe. He was like, you want to date her? And
Yeah, it was very old school mentality.
I find some of the comments crazy.
They're annoying.
Where they're like, "Oh, she looks like a dude," or what. I haven't really seen that on your post, but like other muscular women that we've had around, and Dana Lynn gets some of this craziness too, and I'm like,
but what's funny about Dana is she's so tiny. Like if she's small,
very small.
Yeah, she's tiny.
Yeah.
And actually, I get that a lot when people meet me in person. They're always like, "Oh." Because right now I'm like 140 pounds. When I was competing, I was maybe 4 or 5 pounds heavier than I am right now. So it's not like I was way bigger or anything. But the photos that you see, of course, in the middle of competition, you're all, pumped up or whatever.
Yeah, and you're like intense, like you're getting after it, right?
And you look a lot bigger in those pictures. And then when people would ever meet me in person, they were always surprised by how small I was.
I'm always thinking like, if you guys ever met these girls in person, I mean, they're beautiful, and it's not, they're saying, "Oh, it's too much muscle and this and that." I'm like, I don't, I don't get it. But I think that again, they're judging off of like a photo, I think it's like one shot, and like you might have a vein popping out of your neck or something. But it's just funny to me, like somebody sees like these certain characteristics, they automatically associate it with steroids, and it has nothing to do with anything other than how lean your body is. Striations in your shoulder has to do with your body fat percentage.
And the leaner you are, the bigger that you look in pictures too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look massive even though you're actually like Dana Lynn. Like Dana
Mhm.
looks huge. She has big round shoulders.
And she knows how to pose.
Oh,
She's
God,
so
yeah.
much better at that than me. When we were hanging out, standing side by side, people were like, "This is nuts. You guys are the same size." And then we would take a photo
You
together.
try to pull up some of those pictures,
And
Andrew. They're
she
amazing.
would out angle me so hard. And I'd be like, I don't know how to stand like that. Like, I don't know how to pop my shoulder like that, because in the photos, her upper body was just looked so much bigger. And people were like, man, she was so much bigger than you. I was like, actually, she wasn't. She just knows how to work the angles for sure.
Well, yeah, she just kind of pulls her shoulder back and just tightens up her arm a little bit, and her arm just pops.
Mhm.
And
And
she
I'm
doesn't
just,
even
standing here smiling.
and she doesn't even look like she's flexing.
No.
No.
But she's,
Mhm.
I saw some of the workouts that you guys did together. You were teaching her some CrossFit and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's so funny because Rob, I think, is who reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come teach us some CrossFit?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I used to have short hair, so when I had short hair, people would comment on my stuff all the time, like, "You look like the CrossFit Dana Lynn Bailey," and she said that she had been getting the same thing. And so we got together, and I did some of her workouts, and she did some of mine, and she was way better at mine than I was at hers, maybe, but it was a lot of fun. We got along like really well. We had never met. We had only ever, I think, like DM'd each other, and I stayed at her house, so that could have gone really awkwardly, but it didn't. It was
Physique wise, you guys do look very similar.
Mhm.
just look at those shoulders.
I know.
It was a lot of fun, and we still talk a little bit here and there to this day, and we want to get out and visit them in Montana. So
I remember she showed you like the Stairmaster, and she's like, "Yeah, this is what I do," and you're like, "For what?" And she's like, and you're like, "For how long?" She's like, "For 40 minutes,
I was
5
like,
minutes."
oh God.
You're like, "But every day?" Like, I don't know, like, what's this for?
Yeah,
That was hilarious.
this was this was like a hybrid. It's movements that she's used to, but in a CrossFit, like we're doing this for time, and we did a little team workout. And I think Rob hurt his pec benching that day, so it ended up just being me and her finishing it. But it was a lot of fun. We were the same. I think we weighed. She might be like an inch shorter than me, but we were like the exact same weight at this
Right.
time and everything. So
What do you guys enjoy about this kind of fitness? You're not really, throwing yourself into these crazy CrossFit workouts anymore, but you guys are still doing stuff where you're breathing hard and you're
Mhm.
just annihilating yourself. And a lot of people look at that and be like, "Man, I don't get it. Why would you go kick the crap out of yourself that way?" What do you guys enjoy about it?
I think for me, it's like a form of like a therapy in itself, right? Like you get to just kind of any kind of stress buildup that I may have, you just get to release it there. Also, it just kind of my goal is to stay in super shape until Knox is 18, so I can crush him in workouts and everything, right? And
You want to be able
no-
to kick his ass.
yeah, but I want to be able to like same thing, right? I want to be able to go on hikes with him, just do real life stuff. And then for me, I just enjoy it. It's been part of my life for so long now that I enjoy it, and I like feeling that if at any point in time, if anybody from any realm of fitness wants to be like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Because I can adapt to it, just because
Mhm.
I'm still in shape. I still have strength, and yeah, I just like to keep the consistency of it.
Do you feel like you're still improving even though it's different?
Absolutely, for sure. Mostly, yeah, I still feel like I'm improving.
it's hard because we don't test it as much.
We don't test it as much, but
Well, it's weird. Yeah, you don't want to necessarily like test it because you really don't care that much, and then
exactly.
you fall back into the same trap.
As
You're
soon
like,
as you start testing it, then you start caring too much.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
And then you're just back. You're back trying to qualify for the 2020 games.
Do you
Yeah.
think either one of you will compete in anything, even if it's kind of just for like quote unquote fun?
for sure, absolutely.
I do it. I've done it several times, even since
Yeah.
Knox has been born. And I was telling you earlier, I just wreck myself because I think I know what to do based on what I used to be able to do, and so I'll go in there acting like that, and then 5 minutes into it, I'm like, yeah, I'm in too deep, and then I'm just, trying not to drown.
We joined an indoor soccer league
Oh gosh.
not long ago, like 6 months ago, actually. It's because it was right by our house, and I love that stuff. So I will still do things like that, indoor soccer league, or later as we have our whole team. We want to do like some kind of softball. I don't know, whatever, some kind of league, whatever. That's something completely different and just fun. So it's not so the pressure's not all there. You're just doing it to enjoy it, but then you still end up crushing people. That's a good feeling.
I really like to do some like little local competitions, or like I'll sign up for like a little online CrossFit type competition, and I'll put my scores on social media and stuff because again, like I've learned so much from being a mom, but moms are so hard on themselves with, I mean, usually it's, I want to get my body back. I need to be doing what I was doing before. And for people like me who maybe used to compete in whatever, they think, oh, like I can't do what I was doing before. Like I suck at it now. And it's like, who cares? So I try to put myself out there and be like, oh, try doing this today. Like that didn't work. But it was still fun and I still did it. Or man, like I really surprised myself and I was still able to do this, even though like I don't ever really do that stuff anymore. And it's okay to like not be exactly as fit. Like I don't deserve to be as fit as I was when I was competing because I don't spend as much time on it. And that's okay. Look at all this other stuff that I am doing instead. And it doesn't need to be like some over the top performance, and we're just having a good time.
It's kind of amazing though when you don't force it, how it still seems like it's not that far away, because you're working out quite differently now. And I know it would take you guys some time to get, back to the shape you were in all around. But on certain exercises or certain specific workouts, every once in a while you're like,
I still got it.
That's kind of crazy. Like I'm not really trying the same way I was before.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty close. And it kind of frustrates you because you're like, man, when I doubled down and I put all that time in, I wasn't all that much better than I am right now when I'm kind of more relaxed about it.
I mean, that happened to me. Literally, that exact story happened to me last night. The last thing I had to do for this little online qualifier that I was doing for fun was 15 bar muscle ups for time. And my all-time PR of like life was 17. And I was like, I might be able to get like 8 right now. And he's like, whatever, just go for it.
I wanted her to just do like,
just see what happens.
not
And I'm like,
pace it,
this
just
is a
do it.
terrible idea. I should definitely do 6.54. And he's like, no, go for it. I got 14. And then I failed like 4 times and added like 40 seconds to my time trying to get the last one. But I was really surprised by it.
That was why I pushed her to do it.
And also annoyed, like, I used to practice those 4 times a week. And I was only getting 3 more than I just got. And I never do them at all. So it's funny.
Were you pretty jacked before CrossFit? I know you said you did a little bit of the bodybuilding stuff.
I've always had muscular legs. And that's just genetics. Both of my parents have muscular legs. So thank you for that. And then I did well. So, I did well when I did the competition and I got lean. And it's actually really funny. The bodybuilder boyfriend that I had back then, he encouraged me to compete. And I said, I don't think I can get that lean. Like, I don't think it's genetically possible for me to get that lean. And this is me at like 21 years old, and so already in my mind, I had the like, oh, that's not for me. Like, I can't do that. Like, how crazy is that? And then I did it, and then I didn't maintain it because you don't maintain it in bodybuilding. You have it for 2 days, and then it's gone for 6 months.
A lot of times you gain 20 or 30 pounds. Very common.
Yeah. So, no, not consistently. Like I looked good for that one show and I had some muscle mass, but consistently lean and like looking jacked in photos like all the time, not until I was doing CrossFit type training.
Did the bodybuilding show in some way help you understand more about training or nutrition or anything like that? Or
nutrition, 100%. No one knows more about nutrition than bodybuilders. Like, they are mad scientists.
Right.
And I think people like look at them as like dumb meatheads a lot of times if you
Right.
don't know a legit bodybuilder. But they are, I mean, to be able to do that, you've either got somebody really smart telling you exactly what to do, or you've figured it out on your own. It's science for those guys.
the preparation is what I think is great about it. The meal prep. Now, bodybuilders are kind of tied to their food because they got to eat
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and they got to eat like 6 times a day. Some guys are even eating more than that. But again, that conscious decision of what are you going to eat for the day? It's not a conversation. It's not for debate. I already cooked it.
Mhm.
It's in my bag, and I'm bringing it to work, and I'm going to put it in the fridge. I really love that kind of stuff. And the same thing with people's workouts. People, say they struggle to find time. You don't have to really find it when it's already predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
It's already there. It's part of your schedule. let's say you wake up every day at 7 and you use the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you shower, like those same things happen around the same time every day. So everyone kind of knows what their day looks like, at least to some extent. Even if you work for yourself, there's certain hours every day that you maybe go to a coffee shop, or it's all similar. Like it's not that different. So it's like, why can't you just write down that you're going to work out every day at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever the time is, and set yourself up for success too, because at 6:30 at night when you're hungry and you had a whole day's worth of work and all you want to do is really hang out with your family and just go enjoy some food, that you're not going to want to work out. So why set the day up like that? Just reverse everything around and work out, get that workout done really when you can. But if you have to, try to nail it in the morning, get it out of the way, got the whole rest of the day to do whatever you need to do, and then get your ass in bed on time. Everyone goes to sleep too late. Everyone's messing around on Instagram too much or watching too much TV.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's right.
I use that example of like the brushing your teeth thing a lot too, like with our members and on social media, because people will be like, oh, like I missed my workout on Wednesday, like I'll start over again next Monday. And I've made the joke of like, if you forget to brush your teeth on Wednesday night, are you going to wait till Monday to start brushing your teeth again?
Right.
Like, no, just do it the next day. And then I think the problem is when people do schedule it, because everyone's about to try in January. Everyone's going to have the perfect workout schedule. But
Jan 1, 2019 is my year.
They'll schedule the hour that they have to have. They have to have the full hour at the specific place, or it doesn't happen. So if the hour goes away, or if they can't get to the specific place, then they just won't do anything. And that's what we're really trying to help people with, is not to feel like they have to have the hour or that they have to be in the specific place. If that happens, great, and spend the whole hour and be in the place, and that's awesome. But if it doesn't, because mom or business or whatever happens, then you can do something.
I think people think too much.
They overthink it.
Just do. Like I'll do that sometimes in the morning. I'm like trying to figure out, what I'm going to wear to the gym for the day, and I'm trying to find clothes, and I'm like, well, why don't I first of all just lay it out the night before? That would be a lot easier. That'd be a lot simpler. And rather than like really choosing, like, who the hell cares? Just grab something and wear it.
I just pictured you like, you guys probably not, none of you have seen this movie as much as I have. I hope not, at least. I used to watch Clueless when I was like in junior high. That was like the movie Clueless, and the opening scene is her like picking her outfit on the computer screen. Like for some reason, I pictured you like that at your house.
It's all got to match up perfectly.
Where it like puts it on like a hologram of your body, so you can see what it's going to look like.
That is a legendary movie right there.
It's so good.
But yeah, I think people kind of tend to overthink things, and then it's another thing that slows you down. And it's part of the reason I've talked about it a lot. Part of the reason why I end up late almost everywhere is because like I'm always doing that, and then I always have to poop. Like the poop just hits me out of nowhere. I call it getting struck by lightning, because it just hits you out of nowhere, and you're like, wow, I got to make a decision right now on how am I going to figure out how to get to the bathroom.
It's interesting about the clothes thing, because you can start understanding why like successful people always like have a very limited wardrobe.
Right.
A lot that, but you're just like, it's one less thing you have to think about. And that they wore black shirts.
There was a period of time where Julian, before we started making our own apparel, he was like, that's it. I'm only buying black t-shirts. And he just had like a bunch of black t-shirts, and he would throw a black t-shirt on. It goes with anything. And you don't have to worry about picking your outfits, because that's just what you wear.
Yeah.
Too much stress. Who needs it?
Now we just, we do all our own apparel, and it's like, that's all I wear. So
what do you guys love to do? Like, what's your favorite thing to do together? Well, besides the obvious.
Since Knox has been born, that's tough. Obviously, we love spending time with him and just playing with him and going for walks and taking him and watching him do stuff, like when we took him to play with those kids yesterday in the mall, and just watching him try to figure out how to interact.
Is he like crazy? Like, does he try to like some kids, for some reason, they don't understand that, like, when they jump off of something, that something bad might happen. Is he?
I'm at that point where he jumps. He definitely jumps off of like the bed when I'm watching him. He's playing it, but I'll have to catch him. But one of these days, as he gets a little older, I'm going to let him, I'm not going to catch him. So he learns what's going to happen. Yeah.
But he's not too crazy. I think anybody that's around him can see that he to me, he looks like he's analyzing everything at
Yeah.
all times, and that he might be the most intelligent person in the room. And I just can't wait for him to start talking because he looks at us already like we're idiots. Like he's just like, we'll say, and Jaime, our guy's over here laughing because he does it to everyone. Like hey buddy, and he's just like,
Oh yeah.
He's not impressed.
No,
by
never.
nothing impresses him.
We do though. Sunday we like to just go out and grab some lunch together. There's not too many things we like to get away to do. We'll go watch a movie once every couple weeks, or we'll go, hey, let's go grab some dinner real quick. While we'll tell my mom to just watch him after we put him to sleep and stuff like that. But we don't have a specific favorite thing, but mostly anywhere we go, just to have like an hour alone is really nice. To just talk about what we need to talk about. Yeah.
I love this
This
picture.
dude is learning how to walk.
How do you separate out some of the business stuff? It sounds like you guys are together a lot,
Mhm.
you know, working out together, working on the business together. And
We're always talking about it at this point, to be honest. We
Yeah.
had this question asked recently because we'll talk about a lot of real life stuff that we need to bring up, but we're both so passionate about what we have going on. Like we care about it the same way. And so we're always excited to share ideas all the time. Like we're already thinking of a year ahead of what we want to do. And we like joking around about it. You know, we like to, because it's just really fun. We have a lot of fun conversations about street parking.
you guys fight about it?
Not really.
No, actually. No, we don't. Mm-mm.
No. I mean, I would say maybe a little bit more at first when it was just the two of us and we didn't have anyone helping us. Like,
That was hard.
and Knox was brand new.
That was really hard.
That was hard.
Mostly because it was hard
Mostly
for
because
her.
we didn't sleep for 11 months.
We didn't sleep, so that was a huge deal. Obviously, like your patience becomes very thin. I don't care how patient of a person you may think you are, but when you get that no sleep / trying to run a business / trying to maintain a relationship, oh, that hits you really hard.
Mhm.
But we got through it though, and
Yeah.
yeah.
We don't really.
You
argue
guys
about the
handle
business.
different parts of the business, so it's not an area of contention.
Kind of.
Anything that has to do with being professional and typing things is her. Yeah, but she handles a lot of. I mean, Miranda does a lot of the work and stuff like that, and but yeah, I'll let you talk about this one.
I mean, so he's really, really good at being there for the community and talking to the community, making sure everybody knows what's going on. Coaching stuff. He'll be on the Facebook page all day long. He makes all of the videos, so he'll film all the demo videos, and we just make most of the stuff on our phones, to be honest.
Right.
And helps me program the workouts, and he deals with a lot of the like stuff that I don't want to do too. Like I can't, like when it comes to like taxes and things like that, he'll talk to our accountant. I'll be like, I can't even, like, my brain is gonna explode talking. And neither one of us are really good with that kind of stuff, but he has a lot more patience for it than I do. Talking to accountants or getting the lease for our office, or he books a travel for people, because that kind of stuff I get really impatient with.
Right.
Anytime it requires to talk to a customer service person on the phone, that is him, because I will get annoyed and hang
And I'm
up on
still
them
like, and
really fast.
a lot of stuff when it comes to dealing with financials too, like, cause I've made my fair share of mistakes. Got my car repoed when I was younger, and I used to make bad decisions and all that stuff. So now I went through the phase where I just really kind of cautiously watch our finances and stuff like that, and make sure that when we're booking travel, same thing. I'm looking for the best deal. I don't let the success of our business decide how much money we would just want to spend just to throw it out there, right? Like no, don't. Very responsible when it comes to making a lot of those decisions there, and because it means a lot to
The
us.
other thing he's way better at than I am is being other people's boss. I'm really bad at
You like being people's friends a little bit more?
Yeah, like I have
She
a hard
cares about their
time
feelings
telling
way too
somebody
much.
that they're like what they did was wrong, or that they need to change something. Like I'm not super comfortable in that role.
Yeah, that's the worst.
It's the worst. But he's comfortable with it.
Even just asking somebody to do something that you're
I hate
paying
it.
them for
I hate
seems
it.
sucks.
I know, like, hey, like, can you maybe like work today? And we have great employees, luckily, but I am really
Andrew and I
off guard
have
with that stuff.
secret ways of saying stuff like that. Like we'll say, hey, you know, like that whole working hard thing that we just talked about in a meeting 10 minutes ago? Like, we're not doing that anymore? Like,
It'd be funny.
did you somehow receive a different email or
Yeah,
something?
we're not doing that anymore. Is that the case? We have to ask somebody else.
It'd be funny interviewing our workers and seeing from their point of view, and that'd be super
But
funny.
I think it's funny because I think that's why they don't ask him questions, because he's like, it's like good cop, bad cop or something.
Am
It's
I
like,
mean?
go,
Jaime, I'm not mean, am I?
No, I think we're very similar in how we employ boss.
one of our employees is here now. He's not going to tell the truth,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it's hard a lot of times for employees to ask you something. I think they especially nowadays, I think they get the message that you want them to be like self-sufficient, and you don't really care about the 97 hurdles that they ran into. You just want it to get done at some point. You don't want the whole like runaround. You just want the wine. You don't want to know about squishing the grapes and all that and fermenting and all these different things, right? And so I think that they a lot of times will just want to try to, do something without asking, or they'll try to ask. Maybe they'll ask somebody else in the office, like, "Hey, do you think Mark would like this?" Or
Right.
like they could just ask me, but then I don't know. They think I'm gonna cast a bolt of lightning down on their head or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they think.
Yeah, for me, it's I've already done something, and then it's like, hey, do you guys think Mark will be into this or not? And then if I send it, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, but do it totally different, then I got to start from square one. But yeah,
It's hard. I'm not impressed by much, so
He's not.
I'm old. I've been around for a long time, so
he's seen everything.
What's funny is I'm really hard on myself, but I don't feel like I'm too hard on other people. But I think they see how I am about the stuff that I do, the stuff that I'm working on, that they're terrified. Like, oh shit, like if she's not happy with her own thing that she's doing, like she's not going to be happy with this. And I don't think that I am as much toward other people. It's only my own stuff.
I think that's why it's been easier for me to take on the role of like being more boss, because if it's affecting her, she's not going to tell the employees, but she's going to take it out on me. And I'm like, if that, I have no sympathy at that point. I'm like, what's going on? What are you feeling? Who's not doing the thing? Okay, cool. And I will immediately go to that person and tell them what they're doing wrong, because I don't want it to affect our relationship. And when it gets to that point, I don't feel bad. That's why.
We learned this the hard way, because our very first employee between the two of us as a couple was his mom. And so like she lived at our house, and she was working for him, but also then she started, helping out with some of the stuff. And it put him in an awkward situation where I would be maybe not super stoked on something that his mom was doing. And he got to the point where we would argue about it, but he didn't want to go tell his mom what to do, But finally, that was where we argued more than any of the employees was stuff with his mom. And so finally, he had to break the ice and start telling his mom. And once you've told your mom, like, "Hey, cut it out," it's easy to tell an employee.
Mom, you got to step up your game.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
Anything coming up for you guys? Anything in particular?
Yeah, we have a lot going on with the street parking, so we're super pumped about. January, we're going to Wadapalooza, but we get to meet a lot of our members. And then March, we have like a Vegas meetup with all our members. That over 100 members are confirmed that are going already.
Yeah, one thing that we have started doing is because all these people, they work out alone. For the most part, they work out alone or with their spouse, or maybe a friend or two will come over to the garage and work out with them. And we have this community. Our Facebook page our Facebook group is really active, but they want to feel that community. So we've put together some smaller meetups. We did the Ultimate Hawaiian Trail Run in Kauai this year, and we had like 30 plus members fly
cool.
over. So we got to meet them in person and spend multiple days with them. And so, yeah, the next trip like that, obviously we're going to Wadapalooza, but that's more around an event. This trip in Vegas, we've got over 100 people coming to Vegas just to hang out for like 3 days. We're going to work out but it's not like a boot camp. Like we'll work out once, and then we're going to go to Vegas shows, and we're going to do Vegas and get to know each other. And then the one we're the most excited about is we have rented a massive summer camp in New York State.
Oh, wow.
And we are going to be hosting the street parking summer camp. And once again, it is not fat camp. It is not boot camp. We will work out the same amount that we work out at home, and then it will be cornhole games and, canoe races and jumping into the pond and ropes courses and skits. and friendship bracelets
Karaoke,
and
like all that stuff.
s'mores and all of it. Yeah, straight up summer camp. The camp is a place that's a summer camp for kids in New York during the summer, but we're doing it over Memorial Day, so it's before it's open. And you can rent these places out, and we're going to have like 250 of our members.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just come in, and we'll do some educational stuff too. Like we'll do some like, hey, you want to learn how to weigh and measure your food? Like that's an option. You don't have to do it. If you want to drink beer, you can go do that instead. Like whatever you
Right.
want to do. But we'll get to know each other and get to meet each other and put names to faces and everything. So
That's cool.
yeah, we're excited about it.
What do you guys do with your nutrition?
It's pretty. When knowing what I know about bodybuilding, I would say it's pretty relaxed. It's kind of so when I started in CrossFit, it was all about zone diet, and then it went super hard on the paleo side of it, where it's like, I can't believe you're eating rice, like you're gonna die tomorrow.
Right.
And then when I started training more competitively with Jason and Neil Maddox, and I remember Neil sat me down one day and he was like, "Listen, if you're gonna train with us, you're gonna need to eat more," and that's where the pizza thing came. He's like, "I'm gonna need you to get pizza twice a week." Or you're going to die trying to keep up with us.
Right.
And he was right. So I don't eat pizza twice a week now, but we do eat, we'll have oatmeal for breakfast and we eat rice and we eat potatoes and things like that. It's kind of a combo between like a zone diet where it is, we do weigh and measure and macros, but it's a little bit more loose. And we have tortilla chips pretty much every day. And
Yeah.
we go out to eat here and there, and we'll do the French toast thing or whatever. But for the most part, his mom, who was the main chef at the meal prep company that he had before, she moved with us. She just cooks us what
Oh,
she
that's
made
awesome.
for that company,
Yep.
and we just scoop it up and measure it most of the time. And yeah,
Do you guys normally bring food with you, like when you go to work and things like
Yeah.
that?
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're kind of underselling it and almost making it sound like you're not really like on a diet.
It's so normal to us that it doesn't
But-
feel like it,
right.
but to other people, they
has
would be like,
plenty of-
oh, yeah.
It has way more freedom than maybe some of the things you're used to
Exactly.
as well,
for
right?
sure.
It's
Like,
definitely meal prep. It's definitely,
Yeah.
there's meal prep that's done, and it's measured into Tupperwares, and it's taken with us. I guess it's just so normal to us now.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people can insert that into their lives without it being too crazy. And maybe not every meal, is something they package up at home. But
Mhm.
if you can do 2 meals a day like that, that would be
one of the things
that'd be
that
huge.
huge.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do, taking what I learned from the meal prep company and simplifying it. And we're about to bring on a new employee on board who's like really specializes in live stream, is just kind of teach what I learned back into our members and the community, and how to like teach them how to meal prep efficiently. That's really not complicated. Kind of like simplifying what we do with working out, simplifying what what they're eating and stuff, and what to prep and stuff like that, and things. So yeah, because we literally just make 2 different kinds of rices. We have white rice, brown rice, and we'll have sweet potatoes cubed up, and then where we get lucky is where my mom preps like the good meats and stuff like that. But even then, you can take ground turkey, throw in some seasoning in there, some garlic, salt, or whatever, and keep it on the cleaner side with your greens, and that's it. You just got to flavor it the right way. But it's just, again, cooking is one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm not a chef, I don't know how to cook. It's like, it's actually not that hard. So that's what I plan on kind of giving back pretty soon.
It's not that hard at all, and
Mhm.
and you learn a lot as you
A
do it.
lot, and-
You learn it's kind of hard to microwave certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have really good cut of steak and it could be cooked perfectly, but then you
Don't
microwave
microwave it. No.
and it gets
Shredded and pulled is like the way to go. Ground meats or slow cooked, things like that, that's definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
right. And if you have ground beef, you make it into like a patty,
Mhm.
and you cook it up that way. And those are fine cold
Yeah.
too. Like you don't really. I mean, you can heat them up if you really want to, but
Mhm.
I encourage people to heat up something different. Heat up like bone broth and pour it over top, like to get it warm, rather
Yes.
than like you're kind of ruining the meat. Now, if it's chicken, it probably doesn't matter as much, but
Right.
with those red meats, man, you microwave them, you're kind of
Sounds
screwing 'em up.
delicious.
it is delicious. I love me some bone broth.
Knox gets the bone broth. We
Oh,
get
does
Knox
he?
bone-
Oh yeah.
Knox has a better diet than 99.9% of humans on this
He's got
planet.
a really clean
He's trying to
diet.
be jacked and tan.
Oh my gosh. So he'll crush like oats and egg whites with some banana and some like full fat yogurt. for breakfast. And then most of his other meals, it's like sweet potatoes with some cauliflower rice mixed in and either some liver,
Avocado,
which he's
liver.
done mostly liver. Sometimes now it's ground turkey, avocado, and bone broth mixed in there. I mean, that's all he eats.
Healthy food tastes great.
Heck yeah, it does.
He
You
loves
know,
it.
like I think the fat-free movement. I think some of that like probably scarred some people because like fat-free mayo and like
Yeah.
some of these like low-fat cheese and weird things, like those things tasted like crap.
Yeah.
But who doesn't like a steak? Who doesn't like some bacon? Who doesn't like some whole eggs, whole milk, full-fat yogurt? I mean, all these things they're freaking delicious, and fruit and vegetables can taste really good too.
Yeah.
Got anything over there, Andrew?
Yeah. What's the story behind the street parking logo?
The key?
Yeah, it looks cool.
Well, street parking, the name of it is if you have a garage gym, you got to park in the street. So that's where that came from. And we actually have tons of people that are like longtime members that don't figure that out till they're like 6 months in. They're like, wait a minute, I just figured out why it's street parking. We're like, oh my God. And then the key is just kind of with that whole car theme. It's just kind of like the car key. And I got really lucky. I was working for a supplement company, and
Well, you have your own key because it's your own spot. Right?
Exactly.
exactly. And he designed the key for us. It was the branding guy at the company that I was working for before. He does all of our branding stuff. So he designed it. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
He
Do you
did a
guys
really good
do
job.
any like coaching for couples? Because I'm just thinking you guys are
Like
doing
life coaching?
Yeah, just like your full-time business. You guys have a kid now.
I get actually to that. One of the biggest things that I felt bad for Miranda about is having someone that she can actually relate to. Because you gravitate towards a circle of people that you're kind of where you're at in your life, right? And she, like with her friends, it was, now she finally, with Molly, she has a baby now, so they become a lot closer. But at that time where she was a new mom, new business that was successful, and then being a wife, right? Who do you call for someone to be able to relate with you to that? That list becomes
It's pretty small.
non-existent, to the point where she tried to find a Facebook group of
I
entrepreneurial
tried
women,
to join some mom entrepreneurial groups, and
she posted her story on there, and nobody was
I got no
responsive. And I
response.
felt bad. I was like, man, like this really,
no one wanted to be
like,
my friend.
that really hurt me. So obviously it's very, podcastings like this is a way for us to kind of talk about our life experiences right now, but later on, for sure, right, when things are more established and settled in, we have a little bit more time where the business is kind of running a little bit more smoothly without us. That knowledge that we've learned, would love to give that back.
You know, it's funny too because I actually got really excited. I met a woman in Starbucks who, in our new town, I was like, I think I met somebody who I could see myself being friends with. Like, she was super cool and she was fashionable because we live in kind of a small town, and so she didn't look like super small town. She looked like, she probably had like a career and everything. But then she looks at the fitness stuff, and what I know that I do is so like not intense and over the top, but she's like, oh, like that's too, like she can't understand that part of me. She thinks I'm just like this crazy fitness person. And so we can't relate on that level. Or if you can find somebody that relates on the mom side of it, they can't relate to how you're trying to be a mom and run the business because they're just doing the mom thing maybe. So it is hard to find somebody that really gets it. And I have one friend now who was on our team for CrossFit who works for us. So I made her busy, and then she had a baby too. So she doesn't live near us, but we can talk at least.
Yeah.
It's easier to find dudes because dudes like to brag about it. The girls, like, there's not enough women that are kind of leaders in that way. There's not enough women in fitness that are leaders. There's not enough women leading the way, like from an entrepreneurial standpoint. You look like men have Gary Vee, right? Like
Yeah.
Hey, I have Gary Vee too. He's like my favorite.
Right. and there's other people too. I mean, and there are women that are trying, but they're not. It's not the same yet, and hopefully it kind of gets to that point. Hopefully more women that are running businesses, hopefully they talk more, and maybe you guys should have a podcast. I think if you guys even just got together and talked even just one time per month
Yeah.
on specific topics, it could be 100% related to street parking and also could be 100% not related to it. How do you make it work? How do you get your workouts in with your kid and with everything else you have going on? All these different topics, probably something that your people want to hear and get a better understanding of.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times the entrepreneurial, because you can find entrepreneurial women, but they're not going to be also, at least they're not going to portray, I'm also trying to be like a really good wife and mom. Like they almost like go too hard into the like, no, I'm a strong businesswoman and I can do and get out of my way type of thing. Or you'll get the
Right.
like mom podcasts and it's like, they're almost like too gentle and too,
Hmm.
so it's really hard to find that mix
Well,
for
Fridays
sure.
we do this thing now actually because you're right. We always find ways to where as the community gets bigger for street parking, how can we continue to engage with our members, right, and make sure that they don't feel like they can't send us a message and we won't respond. So we do this thing called FaceTime Fridays now. Every Friday we'll go live on our social media platform for street parking and Facebook, and we have people DM us their numbers, and we'll literally FaceTime them. And hey, you have a question, ask
We
us.
tell them to have a question ready.
And we'll call them.
Sometimes
They're like,
they
"Oh my
don't.
god, I didn't think you were gonna call us." And we're like, "Based on Friday, yeah, of course." And
9
then,
out of 10 times they're driving.
so we'll go for like an hour. That's how long the episodes usually go for. We sometimes because they just once they have us on the phone, they'll ask. But hey, like this is your opportunity. Ask us, and we want to share our story as much as possible and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like we're going like 6 weeks into doing it, but it's awesome. So FaceTime Fridays is what we do.
How do you not fall into the trap of like messing around with social media too much?
I do mess around with social media too much. I do that.
I mean, because your business is there and,
Yeah.
and you got to post stuff, but then you end up scrolling.
When I
scrolling,
know-
He
Oh.
unfollowed every single like he follows like 12 people now, and he follows the hashtag street parking and like 12 people that he actually wants to see what they have to post, and anyone else if he wants to check in on
Out
them,
of those
he can
12
go
people,
there,
I
you
would
know?
say 4 of them are not actually having to do with like street parking members, Miranda, my mom. But yeah, because it's like, because bottom line, anytime I'm with Knox or I'm getting ready to put him to sleep in the evening or when I'm spending time with him, phone's away. It's just away because I know I'm going to be on it. It's not, it's our business. Literally, I would say 70 to 80% of our business is going through our phones.
Mhm.
And you just have to be. I've accepted the fact that I'm always on my phone, but yeah, there's moments where I can easily check out and be like, "What kind of moment is this?" Okay, put your phone away. You have to just be aware that, hey, this is your time to just disconnect right now, for sure. Sundays, I've gotten a lot easier at disconnecting on Sundays because I got through a moment where before we had our workers, where it was just me and her, we're just commenting on all our members, like letting them know, but and it got hard for me to like take a day off of doing that because I'm like, oh man, are they going to feel like I'm not paying attention to them? But it's gotten to the point now where it's like, hey, our message is having fitness be part of your lifestyle, make it short, and then so you can go back to the things that matter, which is family. And so I can't try to like, give that message and not apply it myself. So it's just a lot of reality checks always.
Do the comments and different things that come in, does it dictate what you post? Like you said, you don't get as many likes, and you get people unfollowing you for like breastfeeding and having pictures of your handsome hunky husband over there.
I would say no. I mean, I used to like if I didn't like think that I looked good in a video, literally like if I'm like, oh, I look tired in this video, or oh, my outfit's not that cute, then I wouldn't post it. But now I don't really think about that stuff too much. Obviously, like if it's a shitty quality picture or something like that, it's because it's part of our business to run a good social media. But no, I'm not too worried. It still isn't my favorite thing. Like if I lose a bunch of followers when I post something, but
Right.
I've been pretty adamant about not allowing that to dictate what I post on my personal page. And I do believe strongly that you can be building a really strong message and a really strong brand and losing followers at the same time. Because all I'm losing are people who they don't care about my message and they don't agree with it anyway. So why do I want
Right.
them around? So.
Yeah, they might not follow the street parking and so on, and they might not be like customers, right? They might
Exactly.
just be fans of what you used to do.
Where if I'm posting what I used to do, I'd be losing customers because they're like, well, I can't relate to that. Like, so I want to post things that are helping the people that can be helped by it. And if it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. And it doesn't,
Ab post, automatic 20,000 likes.
For sure.
100%.
500 comments.
Like booty shorts, like film, like, the favorite of CrossFit girls everywhere is to film the workout from underneath and behind. Like, cause that's the best way to film your workout, I guess.
Men
and
is the same thing, just from the front.
it's so weird to me.
Hey now.
That and no, I'm not. So I'm not about that. And I know, like when I post like a picture of me and Knox or whatever, it's like, oh, well, you know, that's real life and that's boring and I'll lose some followers, but that's who, you know.
Right, that's what you're excited about,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's happening.
Yep.
And that's what you.
And you know this because everything you do, like, he's gonna pick up on stuff. He probably already picks up on way more than we understand. And he's gonna get to the point where he's like, oh, you only post stuff that people think is cool. You only put out things that people think
Right.
are cool. And then he starts doing that, and that would be devastating for him to try to be being. I mean, he is pretty cool, but we don't want to teach him that. You be yourself and be real and allow the people to come to you that jive with that. You know.
I know he's only one, but has he kind of figured out the phone a little bit, like what's going on with
Absolutely. He knows
We
the-
show him like little videos on the phone, mostly
Yeah.
only family videos, or like I showed him that dance
Mhm.
compilation video, and again, no smile, no laughter, just
But what's interesting is that if we try to show him a movie, he doesn't gravitate to that so much. But if it's videos of like us and our vlogs and stuff, he'll watch that. He'll be glued to it. But yeah, if it's something else, like, he'll
he gets bored of it.
5 minutes. He's like over it right away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He just zones out.
Mhm.
Did you get any like blowback from doing videos like this when you were pregnant?
Yes, some people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna fall and kill the baby or whatever," and it's tough because we actually have a lot of people who follow the program now who are pregnant or want to become pregnant soon or whatever, and they ask for advice. And the thing is people take it out of context, right? So for me, doing single strict pull-ups when I was used to doing that stuff for so long. Like, I know my limits. I know when my grip is getting weak. I know when I need to slow down. But if people just this is your first time ever seeing Miranda Alcaraz ever, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so dangerous because you can only relate it to your experience and either your strength in a pull up or your wife or whoever. And so for me, where that was super scaled, to other people, it looks super intense. And so that's what we talk about a lot with the pregnancy stuff is it's like, hey, don't try to get more fit while you're pregnant. Like, probably not the time to gain fitness, but if
Right.
you're doing stuff that your body's already used to, and obviously there are movements you got to take out completely.
This one's great because you can't see anything other than you doing wall balls, and then you turn and whoa, there's a belly.
And
A little bit of a beer belly going on there.
and you get everything from like, I actually used to get hate on both sides. Like this one, for example, people would be like, I feel like you could still do handstand push-ups if you wanted to. Like, why are you scaling so much? Like, I didn't do that when I was pregnant. I still
Oh,
did this
God.
and this and this. And then you'll get the other side with this power clean where people are like, oh my gosh, like you probably hit the baby in the head and he's probably, whatever. So you got both sides of it, and you get people that think that you need to lay in bed the whole time you're pregnant, and then you get people who tell you that it's fine to go run marathons, and it's such a personal experience that you share what your experience is, and people have to go through it on their own.
How many months pregnant did you stop? Was there a point where you stopped at all?
So I never stopped. On my due date, when I wasn't even like having contractions or he was showing no signs of coming out, they told me, or I guess maybe like a week before or 2 weeks, they told me to stop working out, and I did that, and I went crazy because it was my only thing
Yeah.
that made me feel at all normal. And so finally I was like, this doesn't feel right to me. I feel like my body's like actually in shock because I've been working out 5-6 days a week for a decade or longer. And now I feel like my body's stalled because I'm not moving. And the homeostasis is like way more messed up. And so he's like, just go freaking work out. So I think I did like some kettlebell swings and like rode the bike. And then a couple hours later I was in labor. So yeah.
Is it weird at all? Like when I look up stuff on you on social media or on like YouTube and stuff, I find old stuff with a different last name. Like, is any of that ever weird or like?
It's not weird to me.
Because
Is it
it's
weird
like in years past, like that wouldn't have been a thing, but now things are kind of like locked away in like this storage bin of social media, and everybody kind of knows your business and stuff like that. Is that weird in some sense,
There
or
was
it
an
doesn't bother
awkward
you?
period where we knew we were going to get married eventually. And I still went by Miranda Oldroyd on my Instagram, which was the last name of the person that I was married to before. We had like a completely like amicable separation. him and my ex have a totally like fine relationship when we've had to see each other because he works for CrossFit. So when we've had to see each other at events and things like that, and there was no issues, but I got he has a girlfriend, and I got a call from him one day that I needed to change my Instagram name because his family and his girlfriend were upset that I was about to have someone else's child and I was still using his last name. And I didn't want to change it to my maiden name because I knew we were going to get married. And I was like, well, I'm not going to change it and then change it again. Like, it was a really tough situation where I felt like I was like being like bartered and traded around kind of type of thing. And so that's when I changed it to just Fearless Miranda. No more last names. I was like, we'll just keep it at Fearless Miranda. When we get married, I'm not going to change it to Miranda Alcaraz. So there was a little bit of weirdness there, but it wasn't from either one of us. It was more from my ex's side.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else, Andrew?
Yeah, a staple of this podcast is something we like to call poop stories.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I was just looking through you guys' YouTube channel, and there's a video that says plane rides and poop.
Oh,
What happened
man.
there?
Knox blew up, man. It was like,
It was all over the hotel room.
yeah, we took him. We got to a hotel room. I picked him up, gave him his little kisses and everything. It's definitely in there. He just had poop coming out of his diaper because he had outgrown his
all
diaper.
over his car seat.
Everywhere. I was like, oh my! And she was in the bathroom. I was like, babe. It was like I was like, he pooped. He pooped.
Help!
I mean, any parent knows that there's like massive poops,
Oh.
and there's we have to put this kid in the shower. That's the only option right now. Poops. This was one of
That's
those.
it. It was like
Look at
I
his
was like
face.
being cute with him. I was like, hey, what's? And I smelled something. I was like, oh, I think you pooped, man. And I really,
Everything you have is
look,
white.
and that's when I realized I was like,
Look at
dude,
it
did you-
hanging Aw.
It was, and I felt bad. It was like dropping all over the floor. Yeah, you see it?
Oof.
He was like wondering what was going on. He started crying. I felt bad. Oh yeah, it was
Poor
like,
little guy.
yeah,
You started scrambling. He didn't know what was going on.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when they're little, like as they start to eat, when they're infants and they only have breast milk, the poops are like they're kind of mild. Like it's not that
Yeah.
huge of a deal. It might be a little runny here and there and things like that. But when they start eating solid food, you're like, whoa. It
You
starts
feel
to
so
get-
bad for them too because they can't figure out how to do it sometimes, and there's in so much pain. And poor little guy.
can't figure out how to bear down on it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all I got over here, Mark.
Where can people follow you? Where can they find out more about street parking?
So I am at Fearless Miranda on Instagram. We are at Street Parking or streetparking.com. And he is at 009 Julian with a J, pronounced Julian.
But he won't follow you back though.
You definitely won't.
Pretty much. But if you hashtag street parking, I will comment on your stuff.
There you go.
Yep.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.